Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Luis Perispedia. I am the chair of the Historic Districts Commission in Concord. Welcome to the February 3rd, 2022 meeting of the Town of Concord Historic Districts Commission. The commission will review one continuance and 3 new applications this evening. I will make an announcement at the beginning of the meeting, and we will also conduct some additional business at the end of the meeting. We are conducting this meeting online in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. The public may access this call through both telephone and video conferencing. Members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions following the petitioner's presentation and questions from the commission. To do so, please raise your hand in the participant function of the Zoom meeting platform. If you are calling in and cannot use the platform, you may raise your hand by dialing *9. Our host will mute microphones of those not speaking, and in order to preserve bandwidth, it may need to turn off the video, with the exception of the commissioners, the host, and the current applicant. I will call on each commissioner for comments on an application and then open the meeting for public comment. Once there are no more public comments, I will ask for a motion from the commission to continue, to approve with conditions, or to reject. I'll ask for a second and conduct a roll call vote. Once the commission has acted on an application, the applicant is free to leave the meeting. Before we start the meeting, I want to recognize Abigail Flanagan as a new full member of the commission, nominated by the Concord Museum, and her new role as a secretary of the HTC. I also want to extend a warm welcome to Henry Moss, a new associate member of the HTC, nominated by the Commission of Natural Resources. Henry is a longtime Concord resident and an architect of national and international recognition. He is also a leader in the use of sustainable design practices in all aspects of architectural projects and renovations. We're very pleased and lucky to have him as a member of the Historic Districts Commission. I will do now a roll call of the members of the commission. So I understand that Kate will be absent. So I will go in alphabetical order. Dennis Fury, Abigail Flanagan,
Present.
Catherine Mast,
Present.
Henry Moss,
Present.
Peter Nobile,
Aye, I'm here.
Melinda Shumway,
Here.
Paul Ware,
Here.
and myself, I am present. The voting members tonight will be alphabetically Dennis Fury, Abigail Flanagan, Peter Nobile, Melinda Shumway, Paul Ware, and myself. So the first application is it's a continuance of 2428 Main Street. It's the applicant here.
Yes.
Okay, you want to go ahead and if you want to make a summary of what you are planning to do, we have been through this application before, so it can be short.
Yeah, in our last meeting, I think it was on January 6th, if I'm not wrong, we're proposing to replace the windows from the building on 24 Main Street, which is going to be like a wood-right double hung windows. And that was recommended by the commission to go with that clear screen, like a metal, not black. And the commission asked for more time to do some research to see some photos from previous view from the front, the building, how it looks like on the past, to make a decision before approve the new windows. And the existing windows, as was exposed last time, we explained they are in a very bad condition. They are like a single pane, and they already like a spray insulation on the sides. Also, they have storm windows over, which to rework those windows and rebuild them. It's not gonna be like the best choice for the owners and the heater and the cold weather, and they're proposing that. And as our last meeting, so all the members from commission asked for more time to do that little research. And that photo, I got it from the Mr. Vanderhoof from Hardware. This photo is from when his great-grandfather bought that hardware from the Hatches family, who had like a store there before. That photo, if I'm not wrong, was from 1808 or 1908, something like that. And which looks like pretty much the same window. And I'll leave that up to the commission to decide if we can move forward with the windows or which recommendations the commission will have.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I think that we should start by asking Dennis to make some comments, as he's the expert in windows.
We can't hear you, Dennis. Dennis, you gotta unmute yourself. There you go.
All right, sorry. I don't know if I'm an expert, but I have an opinion on Windows. I think there are two questions. One is because in the back there were, I think, 6/6, if I'm remembering, or 4/4. Anyway, there were smaller pane windows in the back, whether the building had different windows originally. And the second question was, are the windows original? Now, as we know, the second question is always hard to figure out unless you do some really thorough inquiry. I would guess, given the photo evidence we have, they're probably the original windows. And the fact that they're in bad condition may add to the fact that they're the original windows in the building. And in the first question, yes, I think the 2/2s are pretty much what was there all along, and were part of the building. My feeling is I hate to see original windows replaced. I think they should remain. At the same time, I think the storm windows are ugly, and they really detract from the building. So I would again recommend that you explore restoring the windows and doing something like inside storms for the building. And I don't know anything about how the building will be used. I know it's under renovation. Will it be air conditioned? And I know that that's not being able to open windows is not the best environmental approach, but I don't know, particularly in the winter, if putting inside storms would make a difference. So I'm always in favor of saving original windows. Those are my comments.
Thanks very much. Abigail.
Thank you for providing the additional research and material. It was certainly helpful to see that one of our outstanding questions obviously were the 2/2s there, and how far back did those go? I think the photograph shows that they've been there for a substantial period of time. I think that the 2/2 in terms of design is appropriate. I don't have concerns about replacing the windows on the rear of the building. I share some of Dennis's concerns about whenever we're dealing with replacing what could be original windows. But I'm also sensitive to the cost associated with potentially rehabbing. It's a large building. There's a lot of windows, so I'm sensitive to that. And oftentimes in this commission, we come to balancing those two things. So in terms of the rear of the building and the side of the building that faces the alleyway, I'm not particularly concerned. The Main Street facing facade, I do have some concerns if those are original windows, as to what extent could they be repaired and rehabbed, and what the cost associated with that would be. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Catherine. Henry, I don't know if you're familiar with this building. I think that really is familiar with this building in Concord. Any comments?
Luis, you were breaking up. Did you call on me?
Yes, I did.
Yes. I am familiar with the building, but I haven't studied the windows themselves that carefully. For example, I don't know if we're losing cylinder glass in the replacement. And one thing that, and I agree with the comments that have come both from Dennis and Abby. I don't know the relative cost in this case. I think it's very important that if there is a new window put in there, that they don't insert a new frame within the existing frames. And sometimes people are not clear in advance about that. This looked like they knew what they were doing. My guess is that these are the original windows. And the ones that I think are historically really significant are the ground floor plate glass at Vanderhoef, because I think there were architectural responses to the introduction of plate glass windows in the mill dam by Harry B. Little and others. So this is not a building to shrug at just because it is kind of ordinary Second Empire block. I think that if the windows are to be replaced, I think it would at least make sense to have a witness window, which would be one of the originals, particularly if there is cylinder glass involved, with an interior storm somewhere. It doesn't have to be on a primary elevation, but at least it would be a record of what had been there.
Thank you, Henry. Peter.
I'm not sure I have anything useful to add. I think my colleagues have kind of pointed everything out. For me, in this case, it often will come down to economics, because I think I can't really tell from the elevations, but it looks like the storm. I think to replace these windows is going to be a lot of work no matter what, because there are storm sashes. That whole kind of thing has to be removed. I don't know what condition the sills are in. And I guess I don't know if the applicant we ask the applicant, have they entertained the idea of restoring the windows, let's say on the Main Street elevation, and replacing the others, or have you looked at restoration at all yet?
Yes, we have looked at, so to restore a window like that one, because they are like literally falling apart. And just like when you're saying replace windows, I mean, we're not like the seal on outside. Nothing will be touched from outside. Will be just from inside.
Well, but see, that's what I mean. See, the whole storm sash would come off, right? You wouldn't have storm windows anymore, would you?
No, we're not going to install storm windows. So that will be on the front, exactly exterior window, full divided, exactly as it is. On the whole front, and on the side, when you come on the two sides, with the exception from the back, I spoke with Mr. Peterson, and he said that he did like that little lower addition on the back. I think was on the 80s, which we have like 3 smaller windows and some 2 glass panels on the side. Those 2 glass panels will not going to be replaced, and those 3 lower windows will not going to be replaced. And but on the front from the building, and on the Main Street side, and on the 2 sides, with the exception from the back, we can even go with like a 2/2, not 4/4 like as it is now, to make the building looks like it was before. Because on the driveway side, they have like some different windows. which like I don't know who replaced or when they did, but they had like some of those windows are not original. And we did the siding on the driveway side. We had some some nose, some seals, which were in a very bad condition. We just got that like a solid wood. We replaced the seal with the same thickness, which were like a 2-inch, not 1.5, but like they call like a full cut. I replaced the seals exactly they were, which ones which were rotting. We replaced them exactly. So in case if that commission approved to replace I mean, in terms of cost, it's like a almost double from that window cost.
Okay.
And then before we proposed to replace these windows, we checked which list of windows which are approved for that historic district. And then we got the price from Concord Lumber, and they can supply the window from Anderson. And like some little research that we did on the main street, on the left side, going toward the west, they replaced some windows also, which probably it's not probably, it's like a same windows that we were proposing. In terms of economic, two things. The windows are in a very bad condition. On the sides, when they redid some remodeling side, they sprayed insulation on the sides. And this window, they have those weights, those metal weights, they can push up and down. That's not going to be possible unless they take like the trims inside and rip all the insulation because the heat and everything. And most of those windows on a Mr. Vanderhoof, on a third floor, I had some panels and some sashes are literally falling apart. That means most of the sashes, because these windows are like a single pane, basically they're gonna have to rebuild the not rebuild, but it's gonna, let's say that they're gonna rebuild the windows. They have to redo the new windows because most of them are in not condition to be rebuilt. That's why we're proposing to do windows replacement. And
Okay, can I just interrupt you for a second? Thank you.
Yes.
No, I get it. I really do understand the picture. I think what I would say is what we're concerned about is this is every tourist who comes to Concord goes by this building. This is like Main Street coming right down the center of town. And right now, these windows have clear plate glass of some kind. They're not contemporary windows. Any replacement window, as far as I understand, will have to meet contemporary energy code, so it will have a film on it and it will appear differently than plate glass. So, and we've talked about this in a number of meetings, that it's sort of a death by 1,000 cuts where the character of the old fabric just gets kind of whittled away in order to meet contemporary codes, which we understand. So it's a balancing act for sort of preservation of the streetscape versus what we fully understand of the economic pressures on a building owner. So I guess I still have a few more questions. I don't know, for instance, if it's possible to do a replacement window with clear plate glass, even if it's a double pane window, because I'm not sure you can get that. I mean, you have to get a variance from the building department, I think. Does anybody know the answer to that question? I don't even know. So I guess I'm on the fence too, and I really didn't mean to interrupt you. I appreciate the pressures on the building owner, but I also, this really is an important building in Concord and down Main Street, and it would be sort of a shame to see all these windows get taken out and replaced with contemporary glass, which is, looks a little purple in the sunset kind of thing. So that's all I'll say for the moment. Thank you, Luis.
Thank you, Peter. Melinda.
Yeah, this is a dilemma, of course, and I'm thinking perhaps that there's a happy medium where you can do what you need to do on the front and then do replacement windows everywhere else. The other thing that we're not really considering is the cost of extra heating within the building. If you can't put a storm on the outside because it's going to look bad, and you can't put a storm on the inside because if there are AC units, or maybe you just want a little fresh air and you can't do that. That seems to be not a great scenario either. But maybe if you only did it on the front, it would help both sides. But I do love the look of the current windows. I'd love to see some of them kept. I don't think anybody has any, I'm surmising that nobody really cares about the two sides in the back. And if you had to go ahead and do something with that different there, I think that would most likely be the thing that would make us all happy. So.
Thank you, Melinda. Paul.
I've lost track of the options. Is it possible to see comparatively the existing lights and the proposed replacement lights? Because I'm no longer sure what we're talking about. That's just my limitations, but can we see the facade with the existing lights, and can we see what's proposed for the front windows, for the Main Street windows?
Paul, so currently it's 2/2 on the front, and he's proposing to replace the windows with replacement windows that are 2/2 on the front. And then on the sides, they're 6/6 and 2/2, and he's proposing to replace those in kind as they are, to match 6/6 and 2/2. So all of the Muntin styles will match the existing. Is that your question?
Partly, but what's happening on the streetscape? The large windows by the door, are those?
Those are not proposed for
not part of
replacement.
the application?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, then I think, not to prolong this, as I always do, I think there's a compromise between maintaining the old windows and the look of the old windows, but I don't think restoration of those windows, particularly if they're in bad shape, is an imposition we should be making on the owner. And I would be fine with approval of windows that look about the same, even if they're not the same, because of the energy savings, because of the longevity of the new product versus trying to gerrymander something that's not going to wear as well. My real concern would be on the streetscape, which isn't at issue. So I'm against forcing restoration here. I just don't think it's worth it, and I don't think anybody's going to notice, and I don't think it's going to detract in any measure from the visual from Main Street.
Thank you, Paul. You have anything else to add? Okay. All right. I don't have any further comments. I think that we are boiling down to cost versus restoration, but I'm intrigued by an idea that was proposed by Henry, which is to keep
Luis,
a width.
can I interrupt? Catherine didn't get to speak yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Catherine, I thought that she had spoken. I apologize.
No worries. I did want to just ride on Paul's tailcoats a bit here, just in terms of saying that I think my opinion is that Paul distilled are varying and competing concerns and elements with this project very well, and that I would just support his sort of distillation and overview that, you know, we have the competing concerns of the cost of replacement windows, and truly, even if they could be, the original windows could be restored, my guess would be that over time, and maybe not even that much time, more work may need to be done. And I'm a great supporter of trying to maintain the historical integrity of this building. But I agree that I think we can do that with the proposed replacement, which will look stylistically very consistent. You know, Peter mentioned the slight tint to the glass as being, you know, one of the sort of changed elements, and you know, that may be true, but I think it's going to be very subtle. And again, I think we have to look at this as sort of a distillation of all of the needs, you know, looking at this project. And I think what's proposed is very sensitive and well thought out. And so, you know, I would be in favor of the approach that's being presented.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. The only thing I have to add is that I'm intrigued by the proposition of Henry about having a witness window. Maybe Henry can expand further on what he means by having a witness window. So I assume that this will be on the front. Could you do that, Henry?
No, I don't think it necessarily would be at the front. And incidentally, I agree with Paul, and the major change that people will enjoy from the mill dam is they will actually see the offset between the upper and lower sashes again, not reflected by the outer pane of a storm window. So it's going to, if you look in the alley of where they've already done some work on the 6/6 lights there, you'll see that they look terrific. And those haven't even been replaced yet. It's just the fact that you have a window that looks like a real double hung sash. So all I was suggesting is that if there is real glazing of a cylinder glass and so forth, that you choose one of those, and it can be in the alley or some other place, not even on the main facade, as a record of what this building actually had originally, and just label it.
Thank you. Shall we have any public comments about this application?
Hi, yes, Ed Tiedemann here, 656 Barrett's Mill Road. Just as a comment to give a little background, I have both restored and replaced windows on my house, and I understand the thing. But the question that I have, and for consideration, is how accurate will the replacement windows be to the original windows? Are they going to be fully wood windows? Are they going to have the same size buttons? You know, there are many things, and depending upon who you get the windows from, you can get ones that are going to look exceedingly like it, or there'll be quite a lot of differences. For example, I'd hate to see vinyl windows there, you know, when you can get good quality wood windows from a number of manufacturers.
Is that a question for me or just a concern? I mean, I'm the applicant.
Well, sure. If you can expand on that, how are you gonna? What windows are gonna be replacements?
Yeah, those windows are, they will be like all special order windows. Each window is gonna be measured from inside, and it's gonna be insert window, exactly size as the existing one. It's not gonna be more open or less open. It's gonna be insert windows, all of them measured by special order from Anderson. And it's not gonna be a vinyl windows.
Okay, so you're going to use Anderson windows, who tend to have very fixed sizes of windows versus the ability to have exactly the same size. And so you're going to remove the entire unit? Are you going to remove the entire window unit or what?
Now we're gonna remove those two trims on the sides and on the top from inside, and we're gonna take the pins and insert the new unit on. And yeah, just like I should explain better, we're gonna measure window, and each window is gonna be made by a specific size of each existing window.
Okay, so are you going to remove the casings around the existing windows?
Not the casings, just the trims from inside. The trim that holds the window in place. You're just gonna pop off like a replacement windows. We're gonna take that little trim inside.
So you're just taking the stops off.
Yes, and take.
So they're
the
going to be a
pins off.
smaller window when you put them in. Is that my understanding then?
No. From out, it's the same window, because what you see from outside is the pins from the windows, which go up and down. And then when we're gonna insert the new window, it's gonna be exactly same size, which was gonna be attached on this from the sides, from the old casement windows, from old trim windows, not old trim, old frame window around.
Will the amount of wood on the frames, that is the portion, the sashes, the stiles, will that be the same amount?
Yes, the pans, the window pans, because we are not doing new construction window. We are doing replacement windows, just.
I will end my questions there, but make a comment. This is something that you might want to go into consideration. He is doing replacement windows, which may end up not looking quite the same. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other public comments? Do any members of the commission make any other observations? And if that's not the case, I will ask for a motion.
Can I
about the
just add
application.
one more
Sure.
comment?
Sure.
I mean, as all of you from the commission can notice, so I'm not an American, but I mean, I respect that commission, the point of view of everyone, and one from the members of commission proposed to keep one window and labeled as original window. So I'm from Seventh-day Adventist Church, and one of the church on South Lancaster, they had one church who got fired, and they restored that church, and they saved a small piece on a wall, burned it, and saved that church, got fired, and they restored and they preserved like a little piece. So I respect, this is American history that we're talking about. It's not about money or anything. So I respect the commission, the job, and I mean, if the commission wants to decide to us, I can bring to the owners. I hope they will not gonna do any objection about get like a one window, which we'll see in a good condition, restore and label as original window from the building. And that's, I can guarantee that from the commission, for the commission.
Well, that's a very good option. Any other comments? All right, then we'll ask for a vote, keeping in mind that we have the option of requiring that the applicant keep one window as a witness window, and that window be completely and fully restored to its original condition. Any motions?
This is Paul, but I move that we approve the application for certificate of appropriateness with respect to the property at 24 to 28 Main Street, subject to several conditions. One, that an exemplar window be maintained or preserved in its original form, restored and preserved and labeled as having been an original window. 2, that the replacements be with a custom wood window, no vinyl windows. 3, that we be provided with whatever cut sheets are appropriate. And I understand these sound like they're going to be individually configured. So I'm not sure there is a single cut sheet that does the job, but that we be provided with the detail regarding the replacement windows. 4, that the replaced windows be the same size, essentially as a result of removing only the trim and using the replacement window.
Paul, may I make a friendly amendment to that last point?
Please.
That the glazed area remains the same as existing.
Yes, I think that's a useful condition. So 5, that the glazed area remain the same. That is the overall area of the glazed area remain the same as existing windows.
Thank you.
Okay,
I'll second that.
perfect. So I'm going to do our roll call. Dennis,
Aye.
Abigail,
Aye.
Catherine,
Oops, we lost her.
That was an aye. She's
She
muted.
waved.
she waved. Okay, Henry,
I would vote yes. I didn't know
right.
that I was voting.
oh no, everyone votes. Peter,
Aye.
Melinda,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. So I believe we're all set.
Thank you, Aaron. Good luck.
Thank you very much for all of you, and we're gonna make that looks as close as possible, and then we're gonna work in one window and see which better can be viewed from the main street.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a great night for all of you.
Okay, the new public hearings, the first one, it's 363 Main Street to construct 3 roof dormers with 2/2 windows, and one dormer will be on the front of the house and the others 2 will be on the rear. Is the applicant here?
Mr.
Yeah.
Chair, as a point of order, I'm in a butter to 363 Main Street, so I will be recusing myself from consideration of the application. I will denote that by stopping my video and muting my microphone for the duration of the application.
Thank you, Abigail. Okay, Mr.
Luis, if you could just appoint one of the associate members as a voting member for this application, since Abby
Yeah,
recused herself.
we will have Dennis as the voting member. Okay, is the applicant here?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you for taking your time this evening to hear our requests. My name is Kevin O'Brien. I'm the owner and principal of O'Brien Design Group, an interior design firm, and a resident at 170 Walden Street, so right in the neighborhood. And the application that we are submitting is for certificate of appropriateness for the addition at 363 Main Street of 3 dormers in the existing attic space that is currently unfinished, with the end goal of producing a at-home workspace for the new owners who are returning back east, coming back home to raise their family in Concord. And as was pointed out, there's 1 dormer that is visible from Main Street. As you can see, the house is around 1856. has a lot of Italianate features, though a slightly steeper roof than is common. But there's a great opportunity here to really give this family a full use of the space and help the house realize its potential for them. The house was recently renovated, and all of the windows in the house are new. They're the Marvin Historical Series. They came from Concord Lumber, but they're the all wood, true divided light. They are insulated, and they do have noise reducing rating as well, because the house is on Main Street and it backs up obviously to the train. So what we are requesting, as you can see in the plan, is to create a new dormer on the Main Street facade that mirrors exactly the pair of windows directly below it. The windows on the house, just for reference, are about 36 by 74 typical. And so we would be taking all of the window trim package as it exists, recreating everything faithfully, and using that window, that historic replacement window from Marvin, new construction, truthfully, that is existing on all of the other windows on the house. We're also requesting to create 2 dormers on the rear of the house, which is not visible, that would again pick up that same detail that exists on the house currently. If you'll notice, the deviation from the existing millwork that's on the house is on the front. If you could scroll back up for just one moment, borrowing that sort of pediment detail from the front porch, the overhang over the stairs. You'll notice, if anyone's familiar with the house, which sounds like certainly one committee member is, the pediment over the front door and in a few other places is sort of has the decorative piercing motif, which we would probably not carry up there. But everything else about that pediment and the whole casing of that window would match everything else that exists on the house. We'd match sort of flashing details and everything that exists on the house already. The house is currently roofed with a flat tab asphalt, which is fairly new. So we would be matching on those dormer roofs the rest of the roof as a whole.
I think. Thank you. Just a quick question. There's a light in the back of the house. Is that going to stay, or is that going to be removed?
I'm sorry. No, those are solar panels that you're looking at in the
solar panels. Yep. Okay. Are they staying?
There is actually in the house existing a really wonderful skylight in the center of the flat roof that we are maintaining. Obviously, that's not visible to anyone, but we are maintaining that. The solar panels will get removed or moved.
Okay. All right.
But thank you for asking that, because it is a little misleading in the photograph.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go alphabetically. Dennis, comments.
I think they've done a beautiful job of designing these dormers. A quick question. You said that there's a skylight on the top in the flat roof. Does that bring light into the attic?
It does. It's about a 4x5 skylight.
I guess to cut to the chase, I don't like the dormer on the front. I think it detracts from the original look of this house, which seems pretty intact, and I think is detrimental to the whole look of the house in the front. I think the dormers in the back are wonderful. If you wanted a full dormer across the back, I would think it would be fine with me. Well, I'm just not in favor of the dormer in front.
Just as a case in point, just the reason that the dormers are separate in the back is we're maintaining a secondary staircase that comes up right in between where those 2 dormers will be.
Okay. Any other comments, Dennis?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Catherine.
Overall, I agree with Dennis. like the look of the dormers in the back. And in fact, I think, somehow, even though there's a lot of asymmetry and different sized windows in that rear elevation, the dormers actually end up making me feel like visually it's actually better balanced. But I also agree, I'm sort of 50-50 about the dormer in the front. I like the clean lines and simplicity of the existing facade. I don't think it's a bad addition, but I do like the original simplicity of the facade as it is. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Catherine. Henry.
One of my questions is really to do with the size of the dormers, including those on the back. And I could be wrong, but it looks like their framing will be very close to the hip rafters. And not only that, in general, I expect dormers to be secondary to main facade windows. So if you take that, if you look at the issue from the back, I think people on the train aren't going to care that much. But I have a feeling that the dormers would fit better and look better if they were somewhat smaller. When it comes around to the front, I think Dennis's point is the central issue, which is, does one accept this as a change to a pretty dull roof, but the original roof? And if there is going to be a new dormer, I don't think it should be competing in scale with the window beneath it quite so much. And I'm sort of 50-50 about whether one there would be a problem for Main Street, but I do think it's too big.
Thank you, Henry. Peter.
I'll just thank you, Luis. I echo what Henry was saying. I couldn't quite figure it out until you said it, Henry. They do seem like if they could be reduced by 20% or 25% or something, they do seem it's almost top heavy. Otherwise, I don't really object to the dormer on the front as strongly as others might. And I think the only concern I really have is that if we do approve this, I would like to see construction drawings before, a kind of final approval, or make that a condition of the approval. It's a little hard to tell. Henry actually brought up the point of how is this actually going to work in section. These are nice diagrams, but they're really almost conceptual diagrams. But I think if the dormers could be reduced in scale somewhat, because the windows really do in the dormers start to become the largest windows in the house almost. I think it would be fine. I think they're handsomely placed on the roofscape. So that's it.
Thank you, Peter. Melinda.
Yeah, to me, this dormer looks bigger than the front door, which I think is too large. On Elm Street, just on the other side of Main Street here, the Walcott House, which is a historic home, it's yellow, so it's very close to this house. I believe that house has dormers. Is there any way you can pull that up, Heather? But it sure doesn't have a big one like this.
Yeah, give me a. Which direction am I moving in? This way?
Are we on Elm Street now? No.
Oh, you want me to go to
That's
Elm?
Main Street. You got to go to Elm.
Elm Street, yeah.
I'll go this way.
And it's very close.
This one or no?
No, other side of the street, no. Which makes it closer to this house that we're talking about.
Oh, I see.
There we go. I believe that's the Walcott house. Okay, so they have a dormer there with 3 windows. That's interesting because it doesn't look offensive to me in that scenario. Now, maybe because the windows are smaller, even though they are wide, it's not as aggressive to me and fits in. I mean, they don't have all that decoration around the rest of the house, but I prefer that look than what they have proposed for the Main Street house.
Okay, so thank you, Melinda. Paul?
Mine muted, yeah. I have a few questions, but can we now see, since Melinda's got us riding around town here, can we see the actual house?
Oh,
across the street there?
Need music to go with this, Heather, so next time.
There we are.
Yeah. Mhm. Okay, so tell me, I know this is irrelevant, but I'm good at irrelevancies. So what's happening on the 3rd floor that demands this extraordinary amount of light? I take it it's not a single room because the back has the 2 dormers and the front has single. So what's going on up there, or what hopes to go on up there?
That is the owner of the home is an author and illustrator. So that will be a combined writing and art studio up there. So natural light is of critical importance to her.
And so it is a single room front to back, or no?
It is. It will be completely open front to back. We'll be carving
Okay.
out utility space, but it will be all
Okay.
one volume with interior like partition doors for her to keep things a little quieter from her family.
All right. Second question. I think you said that I don't know if you referred to it as the piercing, but I take it it's the up arrow on the top dormer. Do you mean that's not going to be on the top dormer?
Correct.
So it's going to be the drawing's not accurate.
No, what I was just drawing to the attention to the fact that if you were to walk by the house today and you looked at that pediment over the front porch, it has elaborate piercing carved into the wood, and we would not bring that up to the 3rd floor, ideally.
Okay, but
from a maintenance standpoint, it's very hard to keep it. There you go.
Right, but the peak effect would be on the top.
Correct.
Okay, I'm not a great fan of the peak effect. My view is that a smaller dormer on the front would be livable, particularly in light of what's obviously in the neighborhood, but that the 2 windows should, I agree with all of my colleagues that smaller would be better there. And it sounds as though that would not be deleterious to the purposes for which that area is being designated. So
Sure.
I would not be in favor. What is the height and width of what we're looking at as drawn?
The existing windows and the new are 36 by 74 field milled. So they're individual windows. They don't come milled together.
Yeah, so it's well over 6 feet.
It's 6 feet.
In height, yeah.
Just for point of reference, just for understanding, the interior ceiling height in that 3rd floor existing is 9.5 feet.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty significant space.
Understood. But I think the aesthetics of the Main Street perspective is relevant here, and I agree with those who've observed that this seems disproportionate, and I agree with that. So I would be in favor of something somewhat smaller, but I'm disinclined to vote in favor of this. And I wonder whether part of that couldn't be solved by taking the peak off it, taking the arrow point off the top of the. I'm not an architect, as you can tell, but that would mute it somewhat and make it look smaller, even though the lights might be the same size. So that's one thought, but not an instruction. The solar panels would be removed. That I think is a plus. And I agree with the point that we would need construction drawings. So, but as drawn with those dimensions, I would go not conceptually, but the detail.
Thank you, Paul. I agree with all the comments of my colleagues. I think that there's a consensus that probably the size of the dormers could be reduced. But I think that this is the typical setting where we should conduct a site visit. So my inclination would be to go and see the site and then become more acquainted with the proportions and the sense of site that this house occupies, which is crucial for Concord.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Agreed.
Any comments from the public?
Luis, I had a couple more questions.
Please go ahead.
Heather, could you put up the floor plan again for that attic? The question is, these pocket doors, this is the work area here, but is this a separate work area here?
The
In back.
whole space is designed to be a writing and art studio. So probably one half will be dedicated more to painting and drawing, and the other half more to writing and reading.
Thank you. And is this square reflecting the skylight on the top?
It is.
Is that something that could be expanded?
Not something we've considered, truthfully. It's fairly new. Like I said, the house underwent an extensive renovation. So obviously, as much as we can preserve the envelope of the house with the rest of the roof, that would be a priority, but it's not something we've considered. So it's an interesting.
Well, that would give you considerable light if that's possible. And I gather because of the way it's constructed, side dormers aren't possible, or you just don't want side dormers?
Yeah, it doesn't work to sort of capture the angle of the direction of where she wants to be working, and obviously the backyard is the biggest piece of this property. So having some engagement with the yard and the kids out there is pretty important in the back. The sides really look right out on the, if you're standing on Main Street, the side on the right looks right out on the side of the other house. So obviously from a view standpoint, it's nicer from the front and the rear.
But in terms of light, they would be less obtrusive if they were on the sides. But they still let the light in that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I guess aesthetically, my inclination is the side, they would an addition of a dormer on the side to me would compete more with the bays than it does on the flatter elevations, but it's definitely an interesting thought.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dennis. Any public comments? So there are no public comments, then I would suggest that we continue this application and do a site visit. And I will welcome a motion for that purpose.
I'll make a motion that we continue the application for the work at 363 Main Street to the next meeting, which is, remind me,
February 17th.
February 17th with a site visit. And I'm asking the applicant, is 8 a.m. on the 17th okay to meet outside the house?
And what that would be just fine. Absolutely.
Okay, terrific.
Is that something that you'd like me to be there as a representative, or is that something you like to do on your own and have your own space?
No, we would like you to be there so you can answer any questions we may have.
Great.
right,
I
it's
look forward to doing that. I didn't want to overstep my,
No, that's okay. It's not really it's not a meeting. We won't have a discussion. We may just answer some
We
questions.
we
And then
just view it.
And then we'll meet that same evening to review the application again. So that was did I finish my motion there, or was it ended in elliptical dots? I
I'd
can't
be glad
remember.
to second your motion.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll do a roll call. Paul,
Aye.
Melinda,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Henry,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
and I'm an aye myself. So we'll see you 2 weeks from now at 8 a.m.
thank you very much. We very much appreciate your time and attention. Look forward to the 17th.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. The next application, it's from the Colonial Inn, 48 Monument Square, Northbridge Monument Square Historic District, to construct a new patio and brick terrace with associated landscaping and new covered decks, new door, and new lighting. Is the applicant here?
Yes, we are here.
Perfect. Well, go ahead.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alec Adamson. I'm the general manager of the Concord Colonial Inn. First of all, I would like to appreciate all of you that participated on this meeting, Zoom meeting, and being part of this meeting. Thanks for your time. And it's an honor for us to present this project in front of you. Briefly about this project, let me introduce actually our property. This is, I call even with my staff, I say, this is the place that had witnessed a lot of historic events, witnessed a lot of events that affected not only our nation's history and also the worldwide events as well. And this is unique property that has so much to do with our country, with our history. So I personally would love to protect and preserve and pass this history to the next generation. And our project basically is adding, well, obviously the current climate and circumstances, and also COVID situation made certain changes, especially with restaurant industry, that such as more of the clientele, they requiring to have outdoor sittings. They would require to have more open space or less chairs nearby. And especially in a time such as in the winter time, it can be challenging for us and to provide them open spaces, outdoor spaces. As of right now, we have 24 seats with the patio, which has the rooftop covered. Now, me and our architect, Charlie, we are trying to present a project that will cover just the one part of the building that doesn't have the rooftop, that doesn't cover the patio. And as most of you know, that most of our clientele, respect to the senior citizens, they are senior citizens, and they, I don't want them to sit under the umbrella, especially when it's rain. For the safety purposes, it wouldn't be safe enough. And I personally hate to turn them away because they come and they try to get a seat, but because of the COVID, we couldn't operate fully 100%. So as of operating 50% or below, we couldn't provide them the more sitting areas. For instance, last weekend we had a snowstorm, and during that snowstorm, we had to sit some of the clientele outside. We had to make them wait. It wasn't a pleasant experience. And moving forward, we would like to add the rooftop which was already, we're not adding anything that wasn't here. So this rooftop actually was here in, we believe it was 1920s. That rooftop was here. So we would like to bring that same rooftop back. And, that's my part, and I will let Charlie to lead our presentation.
Thank you. My name is Charles Orlando, Thoreau Street. We have been providing architectural design, build, master planning services for the Colonial Inn for the past 18 years, going back to Jürgen Demis. And what I'd like to do is also our project architect, Vu Alexander, we've met before, called in today and he's not feeling well. So he is not here to make the presentation, but since Domus will be building the building, and I'm working with Vu and the other architects in our company, I know this project firsthand. And so with that, I am going to proceed. And so the drawings that you're going to be looking at, and I'm going to take them sort of one at a time here, are not only schematic design development drawings, but they're actually contract documents, bid drawings. We're ready to go to the building department. So they get into all kinds of detail and, electrical and doors, windows. So the first drawing that I want to show you, and I wanted to take into effect the entire street. The inn is to the left of me, and then we have what I call the handicapped entrance is straight ahead. To the left is the entrance to the inn. To the right is the existing salon that's there. The driveway and the cottage next door. Now, all of these drawings are very accurate, horizontally and vertically, and I felt it was very important to get the cottage involved because of the height, the dormers, the columns, the overhangs, the distance. That is, I think we want to keep that flavor in the design, intact. And we're actually, Rich and Maria Churchill allowed us to do measure drawings on the cottage. And so it's all pretty accurate. So if the existing conditions on the building where the salon is there's an existing door, some siding, asphalt roof, and an existing window that's going to be there. If we flip over to the next drawing, you will see the proposed change. This is at an 1/8 inch scale. The other drawings get into more elaborate detailed drawings, but the design philosophy for the proposed elevations and horizontal lines to our staff are very important. So you have the columns to the left of the existing inn, and then there's this wonderful entrance that we're going to keep that goes in where we call the handicapped entrance. And we're proposing, a new roof over that, columns, duplicating the columns that are there, that are existing. And then moving to the right, we have the new covered walkway. We're adding one window, more columns, siding stays the same. The existing window on the right will stay the same as well. So then if we go to the next page, which is a 1/4 inch drawing, you will see, to the left-hand side, we have the main entrance to the inn, the columns, the windows. We're not doing anything with that, and the overhang, the gutters, the beam that's there. And then we're proposing to add a new roof that goes from left to right, columns, a dropped beam. The siding remains the same. We're not touching the windows at all. We're not touching that wonderful entrance into the handicapped area. And then to me, horizontal dimensions are very, very important. So believe it or not, there's probably about 1/4 inch difference between the existing inn, the handicapped entrance part of the inn, the street they're in, And what we're proposing to continue that gutter line, the trim line, everything intact. The columns will be identical to what is there. We'll get into that later. And then on the right-hand side, where the salon is we're keeping the window, the big window to the right. The siding remains the same. We're adding a door, a new door, which is a duplicate. We'll show you that at a later on in the drawing. We're copying the main door to the handicap door. We're taking that wonderful door and we're duplicating it here. We're adding one window to the left of the new door, and that the pane width and height are going to be the same. It's insulated glass. It'll probably be Anderson A windows similar to the windows that we showed you 2 years ago when we were back here with the back entrance. And the siding will remain the same. The color is going to remain the same. And you know, you can see the details that we have here for the working drawing section of it. If we flip over to the next page, and it might be, these are the working drawings. These are actual measured drawings. And drawing AES-1, and that shows the existing conditions that are there today, or before we started. It could be easier if we flip over to the next drawing, which shows the color, which I find a little bit easier to see. So if we go from left to right, we have the main entrance to the inn. We have the concrete deck, that's the patio deck that's there, that's uncovered. We have the wonderful entrance that's there. And then we have the concrete patio to the right-hand side. In front of the salon, we have the stairs. The red is the brick paving that's there. The curved area up to the handicapped, everything in red is existing brickwork. And we have a lot of planting, and the green is the grass. So if we go flip the page to the proposed site plan, again, it's probably going to be easier, and we can flip back and forth if you'd like, but it's probably easier to go to the next drawing. There you go. And it shows what we're doing, again, from left to right. You know, we're adding the 2 columns, the other 2 columns on the side of the handicapped tires. We're putting the roof deck, cover deck over that. We're continuing, this would be new construction over here. We're linking this with the salon. That depth, by the way, is 10 feet. The depth into the handicapped area is into the handicapped entrance, that is 10 feet. Into the main building is 9 feet, 4 inches. It varies a little bit. Column locations, we're taking, talking about the brick paving, we're removing this brick paving, we're reusing it. You know, this is our handicapped entrance. So we're taking that brickwork that you saw before, and we're running that out to the driveway that goes back down. And then as we're moving from right to left, the curved area is the brick handicap entrance. Here's the new patio that's there, the brickwork, the 2 trees that are there, the existing walkway, and the new brickwork around the tree to the left. It also shows that a couple of the trees have been taken down, and it shows the new trees that are there. Unfortunately, we lost that 300-year-old tree in the back, but that's been replaced by a 10-inch oak. If we flip to the next drawing, we kind of get into the nitty-gritty details of it. And, you know, this is a plan. Again, we're kind of getting into the architectural working drawings. The floor plan at a 1/4 inch scale. You'll see the columns that we have, the new door, the new window, the existing window that's in the front facing Monument Street. We're leaving, there's nothing going to be done on the driveway side. The window remains the same. The new paved area. And then over to the left, you'll see a photograph that we took of the door into the handicapped area. And that is the door that we want to reuse. It's 3 foot 4 inches wide. I think it's a beautiful door, probably one of the original doors. So we want to use that into our as the entrance. And you'll see the working drawings for that on the left. And the specifications for that door are above that. And then the next drawing is simply a framing drawing, roof framing drawing, details showing hurricane clips and everything is necessary to bring it up to code, energy code, wind loading, insulation, whatever. Drawing A5, if we go to that, and if you look at detail number 1 on the right, I'm standing and looking at the handicapped door entrance. That little portico that goes outside, I think is great. The details, the molding, that's perfect. That stays so that in the new roof that comes over that, which is in detail number 2 and detail number 3, you'll see the new column coming in, which matches the existing. But beyond that, that porte cochere, if you call it that, remains the same. I think that's a very important design element because we have the footings underneath that. Another thing to mention too, I think, is when you're standing out on the street, and I want to talk about roof material. When you're standing in the street, the pitch is like 1.5 to 12. If you're standing on the street or even across the street, it's hard to see what the roof material is. The existing roof material is just rolled roofing, rolled tar roofing. And originally we were going to put rubber roofing on that. And then I think I'll overrule that we're just going to put, what is there now. We're going to duplicate the asphalt roofing that is there. But it's very hard to see. But, the gutters are going to remain the same. Everything's going to be white. The color, the trim, everything will remain identical to what it is. Drawing A6 shows the elevation from the alley. Again, we're not doing anything. The window stays the same, but it gives you an idea of the covered deck that's there, all open, the columns, details. And to the left of that gets really into the nitty-gritty of the working drawings, showing the trim, the white gutter, all the colors are called out. It shows the landscaping that is there and the brick patio. And the last drawing we have is the electrical drawing. And if we start with let's start with the main entrance to the inn. The light fixtures that are there, we're going to duplicate that. And so as we roll onto the new covered the decks, and that photograph above is taken of the existing light, which I love, in the entrance. So we're going to duplicate that light, light Olea Presca light. We're going to duplicate that, and under each area, we're providing one of those lanterns. And probably a smoke detector. We're also having, heat lamps that are there. There are heat lamps on the existing inn, but they're up tucked behind the beams, so you will not be able to see that. The specifications we're specifying a, it's like an 8-watt LED light. It's got an interesting design to it. It's a warm light. We're not providing a lot of bright light in there. We're trying to keep in keeping with the light that is already on the end. And the same with the covered deck, this reflected ceiling. And that ceiling, by the way, is just simple, like the rest of the building. It's just simple, birch banded plywood, and that'll be painted or stained. So that's nothing fancy. We're just duplicating what's there. And that will have 3 lights, one in front of the door and 2 lights to either side. And I think that's all I have to say.
Well, thank you very much. I'm going to ask Paul to start the comments. I think you're muted.
You muted.
Okay. Yeah,
There you
so I'll be honest, I found that a little hard to follow because we're working off highly detailed drawings, and conceptually I found it a little hard to follow. But in any event, isn't this a candidate for a site meeting at a minimum? So I might want to reserve comments. I don't have an overall reaction to it because I can't quite visualize the changes, even though I listened to what you're doing. So I'd like to pass the baton and suggest the possibility of a site meeting where this could be explained in a little more real time.
That would be great. That would be great. I think that's appropriate.
And I will make the observation that this is a project that definitely requires a site visit. So I think that we should assume that that is going to happen, and the comments that we can make here should be from the perspective that there will be a site visit to the site. You have any other comments, Paul?
I do not now.
Okay.
I will after a site visit.
Melinda, you're muted.
No, I'm not. The only thing that I was confused about was the depth of the new decks, because we didn't really see that in the drawing. So anyways, I do look forward to seeing this. By the way, last time you were before us, you talked about painting the building yellow. Have you decided not to do that after all?
So basically, because of the situation and climate of the COVID economic impact as well, we decided to pause it at the moment, but that's part of our future project. As you know, every industry dealing with the shortage of the staffing and economy growth is not, our volume is not that high at the moment. So I'm really realistic person that I would like to do project that I can complete in my real time frame. If I can't complete that and leave it incomplete, that will not look good. So that's why we decided to pause it, but we will definitely do that as well.
Okay. Thank you. Peter.
I also look forward to the site visit. I guess I would ask the applicant, is it possible to stake out the dimensions? I actually don't know how much snow there is. Actually, there won't be any left after tomorrow, but depending on I think what we'd like to do is see the outline and maybe as long as we can understand conceptually the kind of heights of things and the depth of things, that would be super helpful for us.
Sure.
Yeah, we can do that.
We can definitely do that. And also I would like to kindly mention that as most of you know that we do take care of the snow immediately, and we have our offsite company which does plowing and taking the snow removal immediately when the snow starts. And also prior to this meeting, I had a meeting with town manager, and she personally appreciated me that we are taking care of the property well. At the same time, even few other people who works in a town hall that mentioned to me that when they walk in Main Street, they see pile of the snow, but when they come to in front of our property, they see less snow. We try to take care of the snow immediately, even crosswalks or sidewalks that's the part of the public. We do that as well. I have my 2 maintenance guy that constantly assigned to do snow removal when it's snow day. And also I have company that takes care of, as I mentioned, respect to the senior citizens. Most of my clientele, senior citizens, and I want to make sure that they have safe, secure trip to my property. And when they leave, I want to make sure that they leave safe, secure, and happy.
Well, thank you. I thank you on behalf of everybody in town. I look forward to seeing it in a couple of weeks. That's all I had, Luis.
Thank you, Peter. Henry.
Thank you, Luis. I looked at the drawings, which I found highly developed for this stage of discussion. And I have some very strong views, having been to the site and having looked at the drawings. And I think if I make a few of these points now, it may make the site visit for the Domus architects more useful in advance. To begin with, the main house with the so-called handicapped entrance comes to the ground, and it has, on the corner next to the salon, it has large pilasters that mark the corner. And there's a comparable set of issues with the setback at the end. And they're bringing the roofs in actually to align exactly with every edge. And that interrupts those pilasters. The other thing is that the salon and its elevations appear to be from the 1970s or 1960s. The idea of putting fluted columns in front of those, because they happen to be over at the Colonial Inn, seems to be a fundamental misstep to me. I'm not against their bringing a roof out in front of the salon if they can handle that in such a way that it doesn't interfere physically with the house. I would, as much as I understand why the Colonial Inn restaurant wants to have more covered space, I think that extending the roof in front of that house is a fundamental violation of that house's historic character and a very important location on Monument Square. So I think that there might be landscape solutions and a roof expansion solution at the salon that are worth investigating, but that everything that has been proposed in front of the house completely diminishes it, practically erases the impact of the entrance area, which was described as a portico. And I think that when you're there looking at the buildings on the site, pay attention to the zone in front of the salon and be very conservative about the house itself. There are no alignments currently amongst those buildings. There are setbacks, and those setbacks are significant. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. Catherine.
There have been a lot of excellent points made by my colleagues, and I think that this is one of our iconic historic structures in the town, and that it really deserves a great deal of our attention and focus. And so I agree that a site visit is going to be critical. I believe most of all that there's a lot of information to take in, and we, I think, need to be at the site to observe how these changes really are going to affect the property. So I'm going to refrain from further comment until we have that site visit, because I feel like there's just a great deal of information to take in and to consider here. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Abigail?
I'm looking forward to the site visit as well. I'll have lots of very specific questions, particularly related to lighting after that. But I did have one initial question. Some of the brickwork patio has already been expanded. Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct. Okay. So so when we're looking at the drawings that say existing conditions and proposed conditions, the existing conditions, that's not an accurate reflection of what's there in terms of the brickwork currently, right?
The existing conditions that we showed show prior to the work that was done.
Prior to the work that was done.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in terms of the brickwork that's already been completed, that's more in line with the proposed drawings, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any other work that is on proposed that has already been completed?
No.
No, just
No.
the expansion of the brickwork.
Yes.
Okay.
Nothing architecturally, nothing with the building.
Okay. That was my question for now, and I look forward to the site visit.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Abigail. Dennis.
I'm intrigued by Henry's comments and look forward to the site visit. I think we have to remember that this is not one building, but I think it's at least three with a fourth addition off the back. And so it's rather a mishmash over time. And it's sort of hard to sort out quote unquote original from changed over many, many, many years. So I'm looking to see how this melds it together more closely and aesthetically how it fits in, as Catherine said, a very important place in town. So I look forward to the site visit.
Thank you, Dennis. I will echo all the comments of my colleagues, but I will ask the applicant if for the next meeting or the next time that they consider, if they could furnish site plans that actually do reflect the existing conditions, because I think that there's a little bit of we're being misled for what we read as existing conditions, which actually is not. So if the existing conditions could be updated to actually reflect what is there, I do look forward to a site visit, and I think that it's very important we do that. Any public comments? Well, if there are no comments from the public, I will ask for a motion
Luis,
to continue the
I see
application.
one
Luis,
comment.
there is a hand raised.
Oh, good. Brooke White and Cash.
Hi, Brooke White and Cash, 1114 Lowell Road. I just wanted to note that there's one additional architectural detail that wasn't picked up on that is related to Mr. Moss's earlier comment about hierarchy in the previous application, that the cornice line proposed of the new covered porch is a uniform projection across the new porch, and it appears to be across that Italianate portico as well. And that the elevation is not really drawn to represent that. The elevation makes it look like the portico still has a primary hierarchy where it would project forward of the porch, but I believe the cornice runs straight across, and that would be a significant concern to me from architectural standpoint of losing the hierarchy of that portico piece.
Thank you very much. Any other public comments? I don't see any hands. So I will ask for a motion to continue the application to the meeting of February 17th with a site visit for the morning of February 17th.
So moved.
Second?
The site visit will be at 8:30.
8:30. Yes.
8:30. I'll second it.
Okay, so we are all set for a site visit at 8:30 February 17, and then the application will be discussed again in the meeting that evening at 7 p.m. Thank you very much.
Just got to do a roll call vote.
Yeah, you need to do the vote.
That's right. Let's do a roll call. Dennis?
Aye.
Abigail?
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Melinda?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So we're all set. Okay, so we can continue to the next application, which is going to be 615 Lowell Road, Mike Bushnell, Barrett Farm Historic District, to construct a single-family dwelling on a vacant lot. So, Mr. Bushnell here? Yes, there you
Yes.
are. Good evening. Welcome.
Hello.
Yes. Could you do me a favor and throw into the dryer?
Yeah, before we ask the applicant to make a presentation, I would make the observation that this site has been discussed in several occasions in this commission. There had been at least 3 formal meetings plus informal presentations and 2 site visits. So for the purpose of expediency, I would ask the applicant that he highlights the differences that the current application has with other applications, so we can put the current application in perspective. And the second thing that I want to confirm with the applicant is that the plans and the materials that have been submitted to the Historic Districts Commission are identical in its content and its labeling and everything else to plans that had been submitted to other agencies or other commissions in the city of Concord, in the town of Concord, that would be required to pursue a construction as the one that's being proposed. So if you can confirm that, Mr. Bushnell, we'll be happy to proceed.
Yeah, could you, I apologize, Dave. So can you be a little bit more specific there, exactly what you were asking?
Yeah,
and I apologize, I think my video.
Specifically, there were some discrepancies in some plans that were submitted to the HDC in terms of the locations and the labeling of some roads. And this was important from the perspective of interpreting the site and the boundaries of the site. So this was corrected, and the Historic Districts Commission received revised plans which were deemed to be accurate. But I just want to confirm that these plans that have been submitted to the HDC are the same plans that may have been submitted to other regulatory agencies in the town of Concord.
Yes, okay. I think we're talking about the labeling of the private road to the left of my property.
That could be one of them.
Yes, yeah, that has been there since we've started this process, and it's just an oversight. It should say private driveway instead of private road. I think Heather made me aware of it, and as far as I know, we changed it on all the plans. I apologize to the left side of the butter. I knew that he was very adamant about no one being on his property. As far as I know, nobody with my team ever parked in his driveway. But that plan has been changed. It's just simply a wording oversight. It said private road, and it should have said private driveway.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So would you like to proceed and tell us about the current proposal?
Yes, absolutely. And again, I apologize. Something's going on with my video. I'm not sure, but I certainly can talk. Well, a couple questions to you, Louis, as the chair. So I have two different proposals here. I'd like to present them for you, and the goal is to get some direction here from the board and which one is more desirable to move forward on. I can present one and we can stop, and I can get some input from the members. You want me to present both and deal with it then?
Well, I have to clarify what is the role of the Historic Districts Commission. See, we're not here to make to provide input about design or planning decisions. See, that's up to the applicant to determine what would be the proposal that he finds or she finds more appropriate. And then that is presented to the commission, and then the commission, as it happens every time, will express their opinions, and eventually it will reach the possibility of a vote for or against the proposal. But we cannot consider alternative propositions and give judgments about which ones we prefer or not. You see, we may express opinions that address many aspects of a proposal of an application, but we cannot compare two and tell you that we like this or the other. So if you're going to present one, then that should be fine. And if you think that that's the one that you want to present, then that's your prerogative. But I don't believe that this could be presented as two propositions for us to determine which is the one we like. That I don't believe would be appropriate. So you have to make that decision right now.
Well, I think we've had this discussion in the past, Louis, and again, I've had conversations with Heather Gill prior to this and was told I can bring multiple options, label them 1, A, B, C, and we can have discussions on them, just as we've done in the past.
Yeah, that is correct. You see, but you know, we may express opinions about one design or the other, but we are not the ones who provide the input. You see, you have to at some point to say that you are going to go, that what you are proposing, it's one variation or another, you see, but it's not for us to tell you that we like this more than the other, so therefore that's the one that we are going to propose. See, it's for the purpose of us understanding the design that you want or that you are pursuing. It's very helpful to have variations and to explain what's the design development. But you know, this commission is not in a position to provide feedback or to express any preference or the other. At some point, there will be a vote, there will be up or down. And that's what we do as representatives of the citizens of Concord.
Okay, so you know, I can present both. You know, first, I think Paul would like to say something.
Well, why don't we go in order, and I will ask you first to make to explain the proposal, and then we will go and ask each members of the commission to make some comments. Then we'll ask members of the public, and then we will make a determination.
Well, well, I'd like to think that we're all in this together here, so we're working together as a team to a happy ending. I'm not quite following why Paul looks like he wanted to make a comment. And
but you know, it's up to me as the chair to maintain the protocol and the procedures of a meeting such as this. You see, deviating from any of those protocols will be inappropriate and will be grounds for deeming the decision that has been made as being incorrect or imperfect. You see, so. Our protocol calls for the applicant making a presentation, and the applicant is given all the necessary time to do that. And then each member of the commission has the opportunity, and Paul certainly will have that opportunity to make comments and to make additional comments. And after that, we let the public express their comments, and then we bring the matter to a resolution. And that's exactly the protocol that we have been following and that we will follow again this evening.
Okay, that's fine. Louis, you're the chair. So back to the original question. Would you like me to present the first one and stop, or do you want to do the whole thing?
I want you to present what you want to build in 615 Lowell Road.
Okay, so yep, that's fine. So what I have here in front of us tonight is two different options to build it Lowell Road. And Heather, I guess we can start with the first one. If you want to put it up, I think there's an elevation drawing, a front elevation. I'll wait till Heather gets caught up with that. There's a lot of information there. Yeah, there we go. So I was in here, I think 2 weeks ago, or I don't remember the date, preliminary with you, and got a little feedback at that night. So this is the front elevation of the fourth separate iteration of designs here. Again, I'm trying to work with you. I'm like to think that we're all a team here to get to this place. Obviously, we've dealt with a lot of talk of massing and what something looks like. what we've tried to accomplish here is a front facing to Lowell Road is a very small looking house. It measures 50 feet across by this one is 24 feet high. So as you stand here looking at that front elevation, to put this perspective later, and I'll have the same numbers for the next design, you're looking at 1,200 square feet worth of house. You can now see to the left side and see how we've stepped the massing down straight back. The garage is all the way in the back. It cannot be seen from Lowell Road or Barrett's Mill. Again, back to the massing, the cubes in the massing are blocked by the front. You can see as we step down to the secondary part, then per your regulations, they ask to be the garage to be secondary to the house, and you have like a connector to it. Front elevation, I would call this a combination of a hybrid of a Cape, arts and crafts, and a little bit of craftsman in it. Not a lot else to be said there. Some of the other points will be brought up when we get to the site plan. If maybe you want to put up the site plan, Heather. Yep, so here's a good version of a clean version of this site plan. Number of things here. We tucked it to the house is tucked to the far left, trying to keep the buffer as wide as we can from my right side of a buffer. And also the sugar maples, the concern of the sugar maples that go down the right-hand side of the property. We've pushed it back through different suggestions from different board members. We've pushed it as far back as we can to the 70-foot line, which actually ends up making it, we got 70 to the edge of my lot, and there's actually another, if you move it forward just a little bit, Heather, you can actually see, move it to the left, you can see, no, I'm sorry, my other left. After the utility pole where the word UP is, P is actually the edge of Lowell Road. So this house, the very front of this house actually sits 95 feet back from Lowell Road. What results there is we end up with a 200-foot driveway to get back to the garage at the rear of the property. I think there's a site plan, Heather, that maybe addresses the abutters. At our 2 weeks ago, I think there was a lot of questions about the distance from my abutters in relation to the abutters. So this site plan answers a lot of that. So as you can see, first important thing to notice, again, all the comments we've had, we've all been through this here. There's a view from Lowell Road and there's a view from Barrett's Mill. So as you can see here, I'm 70 feet back from my lot line. My abutter is 71. But we all know there's a wedge. I think Peter brought up at one time. No one knows why. You can see the road goes this way, so it's deceiving to say we're both back from the road the same number. So it's a different number. But the point being, if you look from Barrett's Mill, if you're standing on Barrett's Mill and look straight over, I would guess about 90% of my house is completely blocked by the mass of 625 Lowell Road. Again, there were comments from the site view from Barrett's Mill. So we moved it back. Personally, I think I would bring this back to the 40-foot setback instead of the 70-foot, which would knock about 35 feet off of this 200-foot driveway. The look will not change from Lowell Road, but because again, it's 65 feet back instead of 95. But it does allow more of the house to be seen from Barrett's Mill. From there, Heather, I guess maybe we can go into the landscape plan. Yep, not a lot has changed. We've all worked together on this landscape plan. I think we started with a plan that I had there was a comment that it looked too much like suburbia. So we've left the wild, the same, very similar site plan that I think at one point everybody was happy with. It's wild to the front left is left wild, in the left corner, the right corner, random trees you can see here. And there's the granite fencing. It's tough to see in the plan. If you move it, which would be to my left, maybe you're right, Heather, I'm not sure. You can just see the labeling that tells you where the granite fence is. A typical brick walk. Let's see. What else do we have there? That's kind of the highlights of it. It'd be left to right, Heather. And it's really not that important. I just want people to be aware where I'm proposing the granite post and rail fence. You can just see the arrows point, or maybe it's there. I'm sorry, I have another screen here. But that should cover that there. I know we, at the last meeting, it was requested renderings. I have them coming. Unfortunately, the lead time was longer than I wanted to. So it's two renderings. It's going to be a rendering from the front left corner of my lot. So we can see across, you can probably keep that site, some sort of site plan up. The rendering, it's two different renderings. Going to be one's from the front left corner, and it's going to give you a view looking at seeing my elevation and my right side of butter. Then I have a rendering coming from Barrett's Mill looking back, so you can see the majority of that rendering is going to be my right side of butter, because my right side of butter house, we got 6 sugar maples. They've been labeled on one plan, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My right side of butter's house is roughly in between the 5th and the 6th sugar maple. So as soon as I get those, I can get them into your hands. I apologize for not having them quicker. That about does it here. Let me look for my notes. That wraps up that plan there. So Heather, if we can move on to option B, which I'll go through it quick. This plan has been presented. Some of the background of why I came back to this plan is I review all your minutes, meetings. We go back through, and again, I'm just trying to work with you. And there were multiple comments at different times where people had mentioned they liked this plan better than different plans we did, which I've always felt like this is the best plan. So I'm just trying to explain why I brought this one back and where I'm at with it. Let's see, the easiest thing is to start with the site plan of it. It's a similar concept. It's tucked to the left side of the lot. It's trying to stay away from my abutter. This design forces me to keep it at the 40-foot mark instead of bringing it to the 70-foot mark, as it gets squeezed in the back of the offsets. Again, it's 40 feet plus 25. So the very front of this house is actually 65 feet off of Lowell Road. Still a long way back. Let's see, what else we got on this one? In doing so and keeping this plan and moving it to the 40 feet, back to your regulations as I read them and try to understand them as well. Pavement is not light, so this is roughly a 100-foot driveway. The previous plan is a 200-foot driveway. This is a 50% reduction in asphalt. Let's see, maybe A1. Heather, I think this just goes right where I had sent it as one file, so you can just keep sliding up. Yeah, we'll do this floor plan right here for quickly. I realize floor plans aren't in purview, and I don't think anyone really knows or cares what's inside, but we can look at this quickly to see the perspective of the front of the house is way out to the left. The garage is almost 50 plus feet back. When we look at the front elevation, it's going to look like the whole thing is staring at you on Lowell Road, but that is just not, it's not the case. So I just thought this would be relevant to look at here. What else we got? We probably can go to the A3, Heather. I think it's the next page up maybe, or no, A3 is right there. No, we don't need A3. That's just the left side. A3 is just elevation. Yeah, I would move to, there we go. Yeah, A4, I'm sorry, back to, no, the other way. Yeah, maybe I have the number in wrong. Nope, keep going back. I'm trying to get to the front elevation. Oh yeah, here we are. I'm sorry, A3, it is correct. I'm sorry, that was my fault. So here we have the front elevation, and as you can see, You can't see the perspective of the main body of the house to the left and the garage, but there's a 50-foot setback between the two of those. That's why I wanted to show you that floor plan. So back to the main body of the garage, the main body of the house, in relation to massing, again, we've talked about this, struggling to define massing. The front of this house on the main body of the house is 30 feet wide to 30 feet tall. So you see 900 square foot of house on the front here. First plan I showed you, you see 1,200 square feet facing you of the housing. Now I know that realizes a garage here, but the garage is significantly further back from Lowell Road, which hopefully makes a difference in it. Let's see, if you go, let's see, we're still on A4 now, I guess, Heather. Yep, move one up. Yep, so A4 gives you a right side elevation. So you will see this, you see more of this house from Barrett's Mill because we've slid it forward 30 feet from the previous site plan, if everyone's following that. I know it gets confusing. I think we talked about this in the past. We can block this view. You can't see the garage. The garage is hidden by my right side of butter, but we can work with this view and landscape buffers. And from an elevation point of view, the land slopes. So Barrett's Mill, I think, is roughly about 6 feet higher than my land. So 8 to 12 foot buffers plus 6, we can block the majority of that view from Barrett's Mill. I bring that up again, trying to work with the comments I've heard in the past. This is also, let's see, maybe is the rear view there, Heather? We have a rear, yep. Oh yeah, yep, I'm sorry. So I feel like this is a very good view to talk about massing. You can see how we reduce the massing and your language talks about cubes of blocks. We've reduced it behind the main body of the house on the right-hand side, reduced it. Then again, your bylaws ask for either connect them or a garage that's not connected, but ask for a connector that's very low, in which we've accomplished that. So I feel like this is a good view to really grasp massing. Let's see, I think now maybe do we have a site plan of a little bit of a site plan? Yeah, so you're gonna have to, I have a little too much information on my lot, but if you look in close, you can see the footprint of my house in there. And then I would ask you to look around and look at the footprints all around me. I'm 50%, if not 2/3 of the footprints all around me, similar size lots. And I use this because we all have talk a lot about massing and we talk a lot about the size of the house. So this plan is a good way of sharing that. I think, Heather, we have some models, and again, I'll go right through them quick. You've all seen these models before. I know it's been a long night, and so this is a right side look of the model. There it is there, a little bit better. Kind of gives you a perspective of the different. See where we're at. Again, it's a good way of looking at the massing of the house. And you can see I know we have the rendering now, but both of them accomplish the same thing. You can really see the depth of how far back the garage sits from the main house. We have one more model, I think, because I have a couple different, maybe one more up, Heather. Is there 2 different garage options? Oh, I don't think it was in this file. I think I sent it to you separately because, yeah, there's 2 different options to the garage. They're between dormers and turn them either way. I'm just trying to give you options. I don't know if there's a lot of concern there. That should about maybe go to the rendering and a few comments on that rendering at the end of it. In the big picture here, guys, we've been through a lot of different iterations. You've all have seen them. In my opinion, this is the best looking house. This house could fit in any one of your districts. It's similar houses are built all over your districts. the similar type designs. It's just my gut feeling. So I guess that would about do it, Louis, if you want to go from there.
Thank you, Mike. Very good renderings as we had requested. Now I have to ask you a very specific question, which is that you have presented two different designs, a first design and a second design. And before I ask the members of the commission to make comments, you need to determine exactly which of the two designs that you presented are the one that is being considered, because we cannot approve both or reject both. You see, we have to concentrate on one or the other. So this will be design A or design B that you want us to consider tonight.
I think Heather wants to talk.
Yeah, Luis, I think it would be okay for commissioners to make comments on option A and option B and have a discussion about both. We've done that in the past for different applications.
Well, I think that there may be a precedent in doing so, but I think that this site is not a conventional site. This site is one of the most iconic historic places that exist in Concord. So I think that it's very important that this commission follows the rules in the best possible way, and that don't present the impression that the commission is providing feedback to the applicant. You see, if the applicant wants to have a discussion in a public forum in the form of submit an application and then obtain an idea of what design will be better or worse, I think that that's fine. But I think that if we're going to bring this matter to a vote, it will not be on a hybrid design with one things from one or the other. It has to be in a very specific plan. So that's the reason that I don't believe that considering two designs, even if there's precedent for that, it's appropriate. I think that if this was going to be the case, this should have been carried out in a discussion as we had before, in an informal meeting as was carried out before. So I will again insist that we consider one design. I think that in the discussion of that design, we can refer to the other design as a point of reference, as a point of information, but I will not bring this matter to a vote unless we are considering design A or design B. That's the decision as chair. So shall we open the discussion for the members of the commission? Let's start with Dennis. I think you're muted, Dennis.
Seems like we're going around in circles. Couple of key questions. What is the square footage of either of these options?
I don't have the exact number. They're roughly in the 3,700 square footage. The section option, if I recall, is it's the main house is 3,400. There's another 350 above the garage. It lands around 3,700. And the first option is very similar, Dennis. The short answer, right around 3,600 square feet.
Okay. And when I say we're going around circles, I think we've made it clear that that's too large a house on the site. I think we've said that several times. So I don't, and you very honestly asked us several meetings ago if that's going to be a problem, we should let you know, and maybe we should have. I'm saying from my perspective, since we told you it was, and you're coming back with the same thing, that I think it's too big for the lot. End of my comments.
Louis, do I speak individually or wait to the end?
No, let's wait to the end because we need to have some fluidity in the discussion. Let's ask Abigail, and you can write down the comments and we can consider them in a second round.
So in terms of, so I think overall, it's been a helpful process to see, the numerous iterations. And I'm going to kind of contain my comments to two issues. One, I agree with Dennis that simply the scale and size of the house is still too large for the lot. And I know that you've referenced the scale of the homes, of the butters and in the neighborhood. And I think we've come time and time again to the issue of the configuration of this lot poses particular challenges to the size of the home that you've proposed on multiple occasions. And that it is difficult to place a home of that size on that lot where it does not present an issue for size, scale, massing, either directly from the Lowell Road view looking direct into the property or from the Barrett's Mill corner as you turn onto Lowell. I understand that the abutter's house blocks much of that, but when you make that turn, there is an alley of visibility. So I think I agree with Dennis that it's still simply too large. In terms of the garage, which I think this has been probably the most illustrative of all of the different iterations, because the history of the garage is that we've seen it initially in what we're now referring to tonight as option B, as next to the house but recessed back. And we agreed that created too large of a massing and a scale from Lowell Road. Even though it was set back, it looked quite large. It was kind of setback to setback, if I remember correctly, were some of the comments. So then we saw an iteration where the garage was moved forward, which eliminated the setback to setback issue. But then we were presented with a modern or more modern garage structure in front of the house, which I think everyone agreed was a non-starter, and that created problems just simply based on appropriateness. So then we saw, and this was very helpful, and I appreciate that we went around a couple of times on this. Then we've now seen a garage in the rear of the property, and that presented challenges of an extended driveway. And we're always balancing the position of the garage versus the extended driveway. And then it creates a length and a scale problem from that turn from Barrett's Mill onto Lowell. And I think what it's come down to is, having seen each iteration of the design with the garage in both different designs and in different locations. And I've referenced this at prior meetings, our guidelines are specific that a garage is not appropriate in every location. And I think the determination that I've come to is that with a home of this size, which I don't think is appropriate, there is no location for which I would consider a garage to be appropriate. And we've explored kind of all the options. And I feel like we've exhausted that option. So in my kind of final determination for this proposal, both the fourth iteration or B, is that the home is still simply too large in size and scale and massing for this particular lot configuration, and that the garage is not appropriate. So those are my comments for this evening.
Thanks very much, Abigail. Catherine, comments?
I don't have a great deal to add. I echo everything Abby just said. I do appreciate the efforts that have been taken by the architect and Mike to look at this problem and try to sort of find the right balance. But unfortunately, I think we still are at that place where, again, the square footage is just substantially still too large in terms of appropriate scale on the lot. And the sort of the expression of in both versions of the plans in terms of the massing and the volume of the facade combined with the garage just still presents as just overscaled and too large. So again, no further comments.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Henry.
I think I should just defer to others on the commission who know the site better and have thought through the previous discussions. I'm concerned that for alternative B, no matter how far back that is, it still is a relatively narrow house front and a big double garage. It's not that the massing is handled poorly. It's just that the garage has got a statement, which is, even though it's recessed, is very strong in relation to the facade of the house.
Thanks very much, Henry. Peter.
Thanks, Luis. I guess I don't have a whole lot more to add. I do want to just go back to and I appreciate, Mike, your efforts. I think the reality is the denial we gave last year was all really about the streetscape. So what's always been missing in these presentations are perspectival views, because it's all about the oblique. What do we see from Barrett's Mill, from Lowell Road, kind of looking at the public way, the abutters, neighboring properties. I think the other thing I've recognized, I mean, I think if you dig around a little bit, the reason that road, that Hildreth's corner, is sort of an odd corner is that Lowell Road didn't always align. In the 1830s maps of Concord, you can see that Lowell Road sort of went into Hildreth's corner and then took a right and went straight. So there was a square there, which eventually somebody must have decided to just attach Lowell Road. So it wouldn't have even been a house in that location. And I don't even know if there's archaeological significance to that corner. That's a bigger question. But I do think it really, it doesn't, I can't tell how different this is from the iterations we've looked at before. And I think because it's all about the streetscape, and it's just difficult to even see how this will work in that streetscape, where we continue to struggle with making any progress here. So those are my comments. Thanks, Luis.
Thank you very much, Peter. Melinda.
We've been around this so many times now, and I feel like I just feel it was a little odd that the total square footage wasn't specified right at the beginning here, when that has been such a big issue for us. I agree at this point that I think zero garage is probably the only way that this could be made palatable for the lot and for the commission and for the abutting neighbors. That's all.
Thank you, Melinda. Paul, your comments.
Yeah, I mean, as you might expect, I'm the outlier here. But do we have a color rendering of the proposal in which the garage is literally behind the house that you showed us at the beginning? You showed a colored version of, well,
no, I'm waiting to that. I have two renderings coming.
That's the one that's missing. Okay.
Yep.
With great respect to my colleagues, I disagree with all of them, and I feel that the concern about the size, I don't personally feel that 3,600 square foot is disproportionate either to the lot, and I think this business of its being somehow too large in terms of the view from Barrett's Mill Road, I find that perplexing, because almost by definition, the garage, at least in option A, can't even be seen from Barrett's Mill Road unless you were standing in the middle of the square and looking for it. So, I mean, it's not something you would see driving on or walking along Barrett's Mill Road. Lansing Old would no doubt see it from his private driveway, but I don't see how the public could. I don't think it detracts from the square, the intersection. And I think the effort to move it back 70 feet is significant and ought to be respected. I think that's a real effort to diminish visually the size of this building. I think because it's a legal lot and it's a buildable lot, a certain amount of flexibility, not to the detriment of our obligations, but a certain amount of flexibility ought to be accorded the builder. And I just, notwithstanding that it creates a 100-foot driveway, I'm still not convinced that has to be pavement. But in any event, I don't think the size of the building is disproportionate. I don't think the view from Lowell Road is particularly troublesome. I mean, much of that can be handled by, first of all, will be handled by definition with existing foliage. More can be done by way of landscaping. And I honestly, I hesitate to say it, but I think this is a very unfair result. And despite a very honest and good effort by this applicant. I mean, in effect, the committee is saying you can't build anything unless you build a cabin. And I know you're not literally saying that, but that's the feeling here. And I think that is not fair to the public. I don't think it's fair interpretation of our standards, and I disagree with it.
Thank you, Paul. The only comments that I have is that it's to echo the comments of all the previous commissioners, including the comments of Paul. But here I have to make an observation, which is that the purpose of this commission and the mandate that this commission has is, among everything, to preserve the historic character of the town of Concord. And in the process of accomplishing that goal, this commission is given wide leeway in determining what is appropriate and what is not appropriate. The commission has gone through a number of substantial efforts to convey to the applicant that the size of the structure is excessive for the shape of the lot. And, in my opinion, nothing in that regard has changed. The commission has also expressed almost unanimously, and in every meeting that has occurred, that the presence of a garage is detrimental to the ability of the project to go forward. And, in order to, echoing Paul's concerns, I think that as a commission, we must make accommodations and we must strike the correct balance between what is fair for a property owner or for a developer, and what is fair for the expectations that the citizens of Concord have about what is considered to be a very important historic site. And from that perspective, I believe that the balance of the evidence is in favor of the historic character of the town. And that's the reason that I disagree with the concepts of fairness from Paul's perspective, because we must be fair not only to an applicant, which I admire for his tenacity and persistence and for his great competence in trying to accomplish his goal. But I think that those rights should be balanced with the rights of all the citizens of Concord, which have also substantial interests. And that's the reason that I am not in support of the application as presented. Having said that, I will open the discussion to the public.
Louis,
So I'm sure.
I think we talked about, I'd like to address some of the concerns.
Well, but I think that we should have all the information possible, you see, and I think that the public will provide substantial input, and that you might take the comments that the public will make to make a final statement that you definitely will have the opportunity to make. So don't worry about it. You don't have to rush for anything. I guarantee you that you will have the opportunity to make additional comments.
Well, can I say something else,
Uh,
Louis? Louis, can I say something else?
Well, I think that I said that I was going to give the floor to the members of the public, and I see Richard Santoro as having raised his hand, or
Hi.
the Santoros.
Yes.
Sorry,
So,
I only could read Richard.
Erica Santoro here, 625 Lowell Road. I just prepared a few comments and also a little slide deck. I don't know if we can pull that up. I try not to make it too long.
Heather, can we share the slide deck, the PowerPoint presentation that was submitted to the
I'm trying to get it to load.
site?
That's all right, thank you. I'll just start. So the major point that I want to make today is that there is a disconnect between the goals of the developer here and the interests of the community and the goals of the HDC. I feel very frustrated when I look at this plan because it's so similar to the previous plans. The developer again proposes a 4 to 5 bedroom house with a 2-car garage with roughly the same dimensions as the previous proposal. He moved the garage to the back, which is a change, but does not help with the problem. With a 2-car garage in the back and the house with a long driveway, it'll still be a very large structure seen fully from the historic corner, now with more driveway and headlights and less nature when those trees die. We asked an arborist to come take a look at the plans and the sugar maple trees between the lots. He confirmed that with any of the plans submitted so far, the building will cause the demise of all of those trees, including the ones on our lot. The arborist letter is uploaded on the HDC website. Okay. If this developer was interested in working within the parameters of the suggestions made by the HDC, he would have submitted a house plan that's at least half the size. And if it included a garage, it would be smaller. This is not what's being proposed, and it again points to the disconnect between his goal of profit and the community's goal of historic and natural preservation. I jotted down some thoughts and actually some quotes on these slides because I reviewed the meetings from the past 6 months, and the disconnect, that disconnect that I'm referring to became clear. This committee repeatedly suggested that only a smaller house is appropriate on this lot. On August 5th, the developer submitted a first house plan for a pre-application review. It was a 3,800 square foot house that was proposed. The architect at that time voiced that everyone wants bigger to sell bigger. The historic district commissioners voiced their concerns about trying to squeeze a large house on this narrow lot in this important historic location. These are some of the thoughts by the committee members. I'm not going to read them all, but I'll read one. And it may be an acre, but it's so long and narrow that from the streetscape, which is what our purview is, it looks very crowded. This is probably one of the most important corners in town in terms of historic significance. I think we have to be very, very, very careful. I would argue for considerably smaller. Next slide, please. On September 16th and October 7th, the developer presented another application, an application for a 3,400 square foot house. And there were still significant concerns about the size of the house. Again, I'm just going to read one of these quotes from that meeting. I don't know if it would be worth spending time trying to tweak a design that I think in terms of scale isn't going to be something that I'm going to be able to determine would be appropriate or in keeping with our guidelines. I think it would be have to be such a dramatic reduction in size that it would be untenable for you. I have such an objection to the overall size and massing and limited options for placement on this lot. The massing, the visual impact from setback to setback, the impact of the garage, the reduction in the screening in the front, all of that combines to create a structure and a placement that simply isn't appropriate. I'm not sure that a tweak in the design could overcome my objections to it in terms of the massing and scale and placement on this lot. Next slide, please. On November 4th and November 18th, the developer proposed a new plan for a larger house, 37 to 3,800 square foot. And again, similar concerns by the committee members. And again, I'll read just one. I think it came through loud and clear that we wanted to see a smaller house. To go from 3,400 to 3,700 square feet is not in the right direction. 4 bedrooms is quite enough on this space, and that may be too many. I'll say it needs to be brought down in scale. Next slide. That brings us to this current proposal, or one of the 2 proposals from today. On December 16th, the developer proposed another tweak of the design, coming in over 3,600 square feet. A couple of comments by the commissioners. It is your job to apply the standards that we have repeatedly clarified and discussed. And Barrett's Mill view, the view from the corner, is still an important view shed. We're not just concerned with the Lowell Road streetscape, we're also concerned about Barrett's Mill streetscape. I wrote all of these sentiments down to remind the developer that this committee has been clear from the beginning. The previous application was denied on November 18th for 3 main reasons. Next slide, please. The commission finds that the size, scale, and massing of the proposed structure is not appropriate to the land area, shape of the lot, neighboring structures, and surrounding streetscape. This proposal A from today is roughly the same size as the previous proposal. The developer himself has said that. There was some acknowledgement during previous meetings that he's in a tough position trying to fit everything due to the narrow and awkward shape of the lot. But the solution is clear: dramatically reduce the size of the structures. So that we have a visual, I took a few pictures of a few homes in the historic district that are smaller and might be more in line with what might be appropriate here. Next slide. Thank you. And then the next one. And then one more. Next slide. The second reason the previous proposal was denied was because the structure as proposed disrupts the pattern of the historic streetscape. The developer keeps saying that he will hide the house, or specifically that no one will see it from Barrett's Mill or the corner because of the historic barn. So I stood at the very back. Next slide, please, Heather, thanks. I stood at the very back. That's me holding a duck so you can see where I am. But I stood at the very back. That's now this is proposal A from today, which is the one that's farther back. That was me holding a duck so you can see where I am. That's the back of the proposal A from today. This picture was taken from Barrett's Mill Road on the corner in front of the Hildreth House on the other side of the street. I took the picture to prove that the entire house, the garage, the long driveway, cars, headlights, the absence of those mature trees will be visible from the entire historic corner. Thank you for your time, for listening to my thoughts. To me, the disconnect is clear. Sorry, that was about garages. I'm going to skip that. Only to say that the fact that the garage is inappropriate in the front and inappropriate in the back brings me to the conclusion that the garage is not appropriate on the lot. Thank you for your time. To me, the disconnect is clear. If this proposal eventually passes, it will set an expectation that if the developer keeps trying to push something through, it will eventually let it pass. But I do have confidence in this committee, and I believe in the protections. And again, as one committee member said perfectly, from my perspective, that is our role, to see if we can ensure that the historic character of the city of Concord is preserved. Smaller, more modest, taking up less of the landscape. That is what was decided by this committee, and that's not what the developer has proposed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Santoro. I think that Jeff Ross has the floor.
Yes, hi, sorry, I'm on my husband's computer. So my name is Fiona Fitzgerald. I live at 150 Barrett's Mill Road. And I have not been on any of the Zoom meetings to date. This is my first one. But I'm very much want to support the HDC and the comments from my neighbour at 625 Lowell Road. And just to say that the presentation by Bushnell I found very confusing, very disorganized, and considering that this is, sorry, I haven't kept track, but possibly the 6th or 7th time in front of the HDC, He doesn't really seem to have understood the comments to date and the help that he is being given by the HDC and the community at large. To me, the drawings that I saw tonight and the square footage is grossly oversized for the lot and blatantly obvious. The fact that he's struggling to define, in his words, the massing, I think shows a complete lack of understanding of this particular lot and the location of this lot and how important it is and how incredibly historic this corner is, and the fact that we are half a mile from one of the most important historic landmarks and locations of the United States of America. The Old North Bridge is around the corner. It's a magical place. And I think that the whole historic area around the North Bridge is of the utmost importance. And I think there's a real lack of understanding by this developer about how important this location is. So I also want to just add the comment about hiding the house. I think that's completely the wrong way to approach this and to look at this application. We've seen further down on Lowell Road where 3 houses were placed with a lot of controversy, the middle one in particular, and a lot of changes had to be made. The landscaping around that house, I think, was put to try and hide the scale of it. And it's very incongruous to the house and the historic nature of this area. So I'm really troubled and appalled by this application. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fitzgerald. I'm going to ask Nancy Traversy to make comments, and I will ask all the members of the public to try to keep the comments as short as possible, as there is a matter of great interest and many people would like to make a comment. Thank you.
Okay.
Please proceed.
Hello, hi. My name is Nancy Traversy. I have lived with my husband, Martin Lewick, for the past 21 years at 8 Barrett's Mill Road. We are directly across from the road from the proposed development. And I just want to add a few brief comments, which I hope might add a helpful voice to this conversation. Last Sunday evening, as I was putting out candles along the road, the corner of Barrett's Mill and Lowell in support of Unite with Light, I stared across the road and I pictured what it might look like after a snowfall in the middle of winter with no tree coverage, to have another house and garage in full view. The vista across the road from my home would be fundamentally different. And everyone who drives through the 4-way stop every day or who walks by this corner would have a different experience. The intersection will have a different feel. There will be 5 homes and not 4. My own personal experience with the Historic District Commission was 2 decades ago in 2002, I think, when we sought permission to change the color of our shutters on our house, first from gray-blue to blue-green, and then a few years later from blue-green to green-blue. These were the decisions the HDC took back then to preserve our historic house on this historic corner. And while maybe we gritted our teeth a little bit, we respected the important role you played to preserve Concord's history. The plans that we're talking about this evening seem to me rather more monumental than the color of our shutters. If we allow a 3,000 to 4,000 square foot house to be built next to 625 Lowell Road, then presumably we at 8 Barrett's Mill Road can subdivide our property and another substantial house could be built. And our neighbors across the road can do the same. And then our historic Hildreth corner with 4 dwellings will become simply another corner in Concord with 8 dwellings. This is a beautiful and important intersection in our wonderful town, as we've all spoken about, and we need to do everything we can to protect it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Traversy. Mike Russ.
Hi, everyone. Mark and Mara Russ, 20 Authors Road in Concord. We first got to know this corner and actually remember it when my wife and children were house hunting in Massachusetts for the first time, driving in from Carlisle to Concord. And we want to thank all the commissioners for all your thoughtful work tonight. In short, we'd like to add our support and endorse Commissioner Flanagan's and all the other points raised tonight regarding the lack of difference in what was proposed versus the previous submissions, and that the size of the home and garage and overall disconnect with guidance provided at previous meetings to the developer is clear versus what we've seen tonight is not consistent with what the HDC has provided as said feedback, and thus can't see how it would be supportable. With all due respect to Commissioner Ware's points, I personally don't see it as too perplexing that the addition of this masked space and garage will fundamentally change and affect the historic character of this entry point to the town. And that matters everywhere in any home that I'm sure the HDC applies their lens to, but I would argue particularly so, and very much well said by the previous speaker, at such a critical entry point to town at this corner. So I appreciate the efforts of the HDC committee. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Robert Gibbs. You are muted. Go ahead.
We still can't hear you, Mr. Gibbs.
We cannot hear you.
You're unmuted, so I don't know if you're having an issue with your sound. You may try leaving the meeting and coming back in, and maybe that'll fix your sound issue. You can try that. In the meantime, Luis, we can move on to someone else.
Why don't we go to Kelly Crozier?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm Kelly Crozier. I live at 108 Barrett's Mill Road. I'm happy to say 21 years ago yesterday, we bought our house. It's an antique colonial just away from the corner. And we have worked with the commission several times to do renovations on our house. And as Nancy Traversy had said, at times in the process, you wonder why you're being questioned. And I have to say that in those early years, we fell in love with our house, the neighborhood, and certainly appreciated the comments and the recommendations, and found some great opportunity to make improvements on our house. I would say that I agree with everything that the commission has said in terms of the scale, massing, the need for a garage. I'm a bit disturbed, again, as many neighbors have said, about the hiding aspect of the proposed house. And I would say, as someone who walks daily on Barrett's Mill Road and would find that view very different, the Barrett's Mill District is not interested in making changes to what that visual is. I think generations of families have worked very hard on Barrett's Mill, on Lowell Road. Families have donated acres and acres of land to the town, to conservation, and have been stewards to preserve and protect the agrarian nature and colonial and historic nature of the town. And I think we just don't want to lose sight of that. I think many members have made that. And I agree with all of the commentary, the building commentaries about the plans, but I certainly think we need to step back and look philosophically at as why the commission is doing this. We're doing this to preserve a very unique place, a very unique spot, and an amazing state. And I would go as far as to say that the state of Massachusetts has worked very hard to preserve Barrett's Farm, to make that part of Minuteman National Park, I think there's some interest in making continuity between Northbridge and the Barrett's Farm area. And I think we really need to think about any development that happens on Lowell Road or in any historic district. So I thank you for taking comments, but I hope everyone looks at this not only from the minutia, but also from a town philosophy. So thank you for your work.
Thanks very much, Mrs. Crozier. Mr. Gibbs, Robert Gibbs, are you able to turn on your phone, your microphone?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Thank you.
It sounds like the previous speaker and yourself, Mr. Chairperson, kind of summed up what I wanted to say. I think I moved here with my wife and family quite recently, only a few years ago, living on Elm Street. And one of the big reasons we moved here was indeed for the historic nature of the town. I think what you said, Mr. Chairperson, about the role of the commission in determining the importance of the historic nature of the town as a core value and a core sort of North Star is super, super important. I think Barrett's Mill Road, Hildreth Corner, in and of itself is one of the most historic points in the town, but it's broader than that, and it leads to one of the most historic, areas in this entire country, and that's why so many people see a huge privilege in coming to visit this town, and I think the onus is not just on the commission, but on the citizens who live here to preserve that, not just for ourselves, but for the people who see such value in coming and visiting this town. So I would agree with everything that has been said. I think it's been said very articulately and with great empathy. So thank you very much for what you do.
Thanks very much, Mr. Gibbs. Ed Tidman.
Okay, thank you very much. Ed Tiedemann, 656 Barrett's Mill Road. I moved here into Concord, into my house further down Barrett's Mill Road than the spot we're talking about at Hildreth Corner 21 years ago. But I grew up in Virginia, remembering the words that really made Concord famous, those of Emerson and Longfellow and all of that. To me, this road that we're talking about, particularly Barrett's Mill Road, from the North Bridge to the Colonel Barrett House, which many of us put a lot of effort into trying to preserve from the condition that had been left and make it part of the national park. So for me, changing the character of this road in which the British and our Minutemen from many towns went to try to create this country is really sacred. And I really feel that we should not be doing anything to change the character or look of this road. I think I've said it. I think many other people have expressed similar sentiments. I will shut up because the evening is late. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mr. Stidman. Brooke Whiting Cash, please.
Hi, Brooke Whiting Cash, 1114 Lowell Road. I just wanted to speak briefly to the commissioner's response, I believe the last commissioner who spoke, that expressed feeling badly in some way for the applicant. The developer, who is the owner of this lot, not the applicant, carved this lot up and did meet the dimensional requirements of lots from our zoning code that allowed this to be an approval not required plan and a legally buildable lot. However, part of our zoning code as well sets the overlay district of the historic requirements. And that is the requirement through which the Historic Districts Commission has its charge and its opportunity to rule on the appropriateness of proposed changes to lots in the district. And that in and of itself was disregarded when this lot was made. And there was no regard for the historic character. That is a piece of the zoning code as well. So I think that there's an important point there that just because it met dimensional requirements doesn't entitle the lot to have a house of a certain size or a garage or anything else. It is just as an important part of the zoning bylaw that the Historic Districts Commission have a chance to rule on the appropriateness of it. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Brooke. Martin Lewick.
Thank you, Louise. Martin Lewick from Hildreth House at 8 Barrett's Mill Road. Again, thank you all for your patience with this application and your patience with this vocal community of almost 200 concerned citizens. As Erica eloquently pointed out, the Commission has clearly given Mr. Bushnell the sense that the size and a garage are a problem and not appropriate for this site. Yet Mr. Bushnell has ignored those comments, pleading profit dilemmas. Mr. Bushnell has clearly studied the HDC's guidelines. He's been given clear feedback from the HDC that the size and a garage are a problem and not appropriate for this site, to which he has repeatedly responded on the record that he cannot make a profit adhering to that feedback. Can he please point to the section in the HDC guidelines that indicate part of the HDC's remit is to help anyone make a profit? It isn't. The HDC's mandate, as we've heard this evening, has nothing to do whatsoever with this kind of private profit endeavor. This application is not from a retiree or young family looking to build an appropriate home for themselves and continue to the maintenance of this district. This is a business looking to plunder this district and flip a new build for pure profit. Profit at the expense of part of Concord's historic legacy. So I request a motion to stop wasting the time and effort of Concord's concerned citizens, as well as this HDC, and not consider another revision of 615 Lowell Road that features a garage or a house in excess of 2,400 square feet. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mr. Lewick. Wilhelmina.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes.
All right. I want to point out one particular thing that Erica said when she got the opinion of an arborist concerning the 6 sugar maples and that all of them would die. I know that everything has a lifespan. We don't live forever, any one of us. However, if you consider that the looks of a historic district needs old trees, not 2-inch caliper new trees that you can put in. That's for real. The other thing is that Mr. Bushnell is referring to a house that to his mind is appropriate. To our mind, it's not, as well as 200 people who have written to you. And also, he compares it to the buildings on the very same corner. He seems to be forgetting that those buildings have a good acreage, not just 1 acre in a very narrow lot. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks very much, Wilhelmina. Mr. Bill Page had raised his hand, but I don't see him anymore. Is Bill Page here? Would like to make a comment? I guess he's
no
not.
need for comment, Louise. Everything that has been said.
Oh, there you are.
We love our corner. I'll just say that.
Is that your comment? Okay. I'm going now to give the applicant an opportunity to make comments on the comments. But at the same time, I'm going to ask the applicant that he determines which one of these two proposals this commission will consider for approval or denial, whether it is Plan A or Plan B. I ask that he determines which one of the two, as we cannot approve both at the same time. So, Mr. Bushnell, you please go ahead. Mr. Bushnell?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, yeah, I'd like to start. I'll give a somewhat of a brief rebuttal and try to get through it real quick. We've all been through these comments. I'm going to work quickly here. The most recent, I'd like to address the Martin Lewick's comments. I'm not sure what videos he's watched, but we have never ever talked about the economics and profit here. I've never brought up any of those comments. I'm not sure where he's coming from those. Next comment would be in regard to the size of the lot. So we all know it's a narrow lot, but the reality is look at that entire place as a streetscape. I have 200 feet of frontage at the front of my lot. I think the Wilhelmer is my left side of a butter, and they're 150 plus feet away from me. So you take the lines out of the plan, that is not a narrow lot. Yes, you technically look at a plan with the lots, it looks narrow. It's 200 feet at the front though, which is 50 feet more than required by zoning. And again, the streetscape from the corner of Barrett's all the way down past my left side of butter is 400 feet. So there is, the only reason that this narrow conversation comes up is because everybody looks at the plan. The streetscape does not present the narrow lot. The garage issues, we've gone around and around in the garage issues. I'm going to read you from your denial. Paraphrase it. Obviously, the front garage was a non-starter, as some of the words you've used, but I'm going to follow it there. And the garage and the location of the front of the house was inappropriate. Instead of a garage that is to the rear of the proposed structure or to the side of the proposed structure, it is written right in your denial. I'll further go to your own regulations under garages. Garages should be orientated so the bay doors face away from the street whenever possible. Whenever possible. So sometimes it's not possible. It's right in your regulations and you recognize it. This further, a garage should be designed to complement the style of the house with simplified trim and detail and to keep with the nature of the structure. In some cases, it may be appropriate to design a garage to mimic another type of structure as a barn or a carriage house. We have offered this up. So the comments that no garage here is not acceptable, doesn't fit, right in your own regulations are not relevant. There's even more language. I won't bore you under your garage details. You guys can read them yourself. Square footage. First of all, I've not ignored you on square footage. I mean, this is a play on words. You have requested what you would like to see as garage square footage. I've been very clear that that was unacceptable to me. So I've not ignored you. I've heard you, and I've very clear communicated you back that that was unacceptable. I don't think anyone here is a confusion about that. So using the words I've ignored you, I've not ignored anything. I've worked as hard as I can from both sides. There's comments to trees. So now we have two competing arborists. Great. We can probably get 10 arborists and have competing opinions of the status of the trees. But let me give you some real life issues of the trees. You have a beautiful Emerson playground covered by beautiful sugar maples. I would say in cases inches off of a road that have been plowed, sanded, chemicals dumped at them, and they're thriving trees. So there's real life. We're going to bring all the arborists in about the trees. The town has a very strict tree mitigation and protection program that I have to go through to deal with the trees, which I brought up, and I think I've actually submitted at one time. I think this, you guys have a motto, you might be able to help me out, Louis. It's preserve. You're either preserve, and there's two other words, I forget what it was, maybe Heather might know what it is, but the word preserved is used quite a bit, but the reality is here, this is a legal building law. So to preserve is out the window. Whether I'm here or someone else is here, there is no preserving this open field unless someone buys it. This property has been here since 2014. There's been plenty of opportunities to buy it and preserve it. But the preserve is out. I think I'm looking to you guys. I forget the other two words, a detriment or enhancement to the community on the house. That's about it, Louis. I feel actually that I don't feel I have to pick a plan, and I would just ask for a continuance.
Okay, so I would ask for a motion by any of the commissioners to continue the application of 615 Lowell Road. And a second. In the absence of such motion, then I will have to make the decision whether I'll bring this matter to a vote. You are muted, Paul.
Yeah, Luis, I mean, if the issue is simply, can he redesign and make another submission, then I will make a motion that the matter be continued. However, subject to scrapping what's before us, I mean, at this point, the die is cast on the current designs. So in the absence of a substantively different design, I join in others in not thinking that would be productive. I don't think we should perpetuate a fool's errand here.
Well, I have to make some observations. Number one, the applicant has not offered which design we must consider, whether it is A or B. He has asked for a contingency. But I must echo Paul's observations that we have been at this matter for a long, long time. I think that this site has the record number of site visits, formal and informal discussions, and so forth. So I think that it's important that we bring this matter to its natural completion. And I think that the applicant should select whether he wants us to consider option A or option B. And if he's not able to do so, then I will make a note that what we're voting up or down, it's an application that needs to be further revised because we don't know exactly which design would be implemented. I'll ask the members of the commission to make, I'll give them the opportunity to make one quick final comment before we decide whether we bring this matter to a vote or not. Henry, you want to, I'm going to go by the screen. Henry, you want to make any comments?
I should leave this to people who've studied it more carefully, but I have found the objections persuasive.
Thank you, Henry. Dennis, you're muted. Dennis?
Sorry, no further comment.
Okay, Abby Flanagan.
So I just want to, just in terms of preserving the record, I wanted to address Mr. Bushnell's comments about our guidelines related to garages, because I want the record to be complete in this regard. I'm going to read from the third paragraph under the subsection titled garages. It starts with the words "when considering." When considering a new garage, it is important to view the structure in terms of its impact on the overall site. In addition to considering the proposed size, scale, and placement of any new garage, the HDC will also consider its relationship to the size of the overall lot, other structures, and adjacent and nearby lots. Visually filling a site by situating the garage in a prominent location adjacent to the main structure can detract from the landscape component of the historic streetscape and is appropriate only for certain architectural periods. Likewise, garages in any form may not be appropriate for prominent and highly visible sites which lack any means of minimizing or otherwise screening the garage's visual impact on the streetscape. I just want to make sure that we'd referenced certain parts of that guideline, and I wanted to make sure that that paragraph in its entirety was read into the record. I am in agreement that without a substantial revision, I don't see the futility in continuing the application, but if Mr. Bushnell would like to address the reason why he's asking for a continuance in this instance, if there's specific information or what your plan is moving forward, I want you to have a full and fair hearing. And I think if you have a reason that we should consider continuance, I think that would be important for us to hear as well.
Yes, I
Thanks for your comments.
Yeah. Do you want me to respond
Okay.
to that?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
The reason for a continuance would be, I have a whole team. It's just not me. You guys are well aware what has gone in to get us here. So I asked for a continuance to get with them and regroup. As again, I'm trying to listen to you. It's a legal building lot, and I'm coming with a house here. So we either regroup, I can work with that existing design, or I come up with another design. So that would be my reasoning for the continuance.
And I will make some point for clarification. You see, nothing precludes you from coming with another design and regrouping your resources. The fact that one application is denied doesn't mean that you cannot submit another application. And as a matter of fact, this is exactly what you just did. So I don't think that a continuance would be consistent here, because a continuance would be when a part of a design is not fully developed or it's not clear, etc., and the commission needs more time to consider it. But this site has been analyzed ad nauseum, and I think that a continuance, at least from my perspective, would not be appropriate. I'm going to ask Catherine Mass to make any final comments if she has. I'm sure she will.
I think again, in terms of sort of distilling what is in front of all of us tonight, I think we are at a crossroads between the objectives and goals of the builder and basically the square footage of the home that he wishes to build, in terms of fulfilling those objectives and goals, and then the competing goals of many of our townspeople and the Historic Districts Commission in terms of preserving the historic fabric of our town. And it seems to me that I don't really see much of a way forward unless a consideration were made to greatly reducing the square footage of this structure. And those are my comments.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Melinda?
Yes, I'd just like to say that public comments regarding the fact that this lot is significantly smaller than the other 4 lots at the corner. Therefore, that is what is making us concerned about something that's so large. And I think it really boils down to that. I have nothing else to say.
Thank you, Melinda. Peter?
Nothing to add at this time, Luis.
Paul, do you want to add any other comments?
I just want to caution Mr. Bushnell that, of course, he's free to file another application, but the handwriting is on the wall here, notwithstanding my own comments, that this isn't going to fly. So I would just urge you to be circumspect and not request a continuance unless you really feel that a substantive change would be meaningful. because the fact is you have been given a full and fair hearing. You now understand the breadth, the depth, the sincerity, and the enthusiasm of the community not to have this particular project built. And all of that, I think you ought to be weighing in making a judgment, which, were I guiding you, I would say it ought to be telling you to file a new application if, as, and when you have a design that is significantly different. And not to request.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Paul. I'm sorry, I'm trying to rush it for the time. I have no further comments. I think that every member of the commission has been very precise in the comments that have been made about this application. I thank the members of the public for their engagement in this matter. And I express again my admiration for the persistence and tenacity of the applicant that has tried to work a design that fulfills his requirements. Having said that, I don't believe that there's any reason to have any further discussion. So I'm going to ask the members of the commission to bring a motion. The way that I will formulate that motion will be to either approve or deny either option A or option B, as the applicant has not been able to commit himself to one or the other. And from the perspective of the designs, they are very similar to each other. They share the same size, and the differences are in the position of a garage. So I believe that we are able to either approve or deny either proposition. And if there's an approval, then we can proceed administratively to determine which one of the designs will be applied. So I would like to hear a motion.
Luis, I can make a motion. I mean, I'm really going to make a similar motion to the last one we made. So I'm going to move that we deny the application as presented to us for landscape and building work at 615 Lowell Road. I believe we have reviewed this application and considered the proposed dwelling and its impact on the overall site and surrounding streetscape. We have found again that the size, scale, and massing of the proposed structure is not appropriate to the land area shape of the lot, even with the lot width exception, neighboring structures, and the surrounding streetscape. That the structure as proposed disrupts the pattern of the historic streetscape, and that the inclusion of a garage is inappropriate given the configuration of this site and its context. We have found the plans as proposed and presented are currently inappropriate for the site for the reasons noted above.
Second.
Any seconds?
Second.
Okay, I'm gonna go around and I'm gonna ask first the full members of the commission to make their vote, and then I will ask the associate members. Abigail,
Aye.
are and we're trying to find out we're voting in favor of denying the application. So a yes vote means that we deny it.
Aye.
Okay, so Abigail is a yes. Peter?
Aye.
Melinda?
Aye.
Paul?
No.
I myself will vote in favor of denying the application. Dennis?
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
And Henry?
Abstain.
Okay. All right, so I don't think there's any further discussion. I think that the application as presented has been denied. I again express my admiration for Mr. Bushnell for his persistence, but I think that the comments have been very eloquent, and I don't believe that this design is consistent with the historical references that characterize the town of Concord. So thanks very much to everyone. I think that we have some other matters in the discussion, which is discussion of 45 Bartlett Hill Road. Is that, are we able to proceed with that discussion, Heather? This is advanced hour, the applicants is still here.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that applicant is here.
Yes, I'm here. Jason Roan.
Oh, Mr. Roan.
Yes, hello,
Welcome.
hello.
Sorry for the late hour.
That's
And
okay.
if you could tell us what brings you to us, how can we help you?
I'm the project designer for a major renovation and addition project at 45 Bartlett Hill Road. It's a parcel that basically abuts Monument Street, and it's partially viewable from the end when you're standing at the bottom of the hill of Monument. So I'm going to go ahead and share some photographs and some preliminary perspectives that we've done, and we look forward to in advance of our formal application.
Jason, would you like me to? Okay, I got it.
Okay, can everyone see this?
Let's see. Are you sharing the screen?
Yeah, can everyone see the screen?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so the current house is a single level ranch style house built in 1974. It was built with rooms that are quite small and narrow and difficult to furnish and really have inadequate natural light. So the owners are looking to improve the architectural character of the existing house while adding well-planned living spaces that gain better access to natural light throughout. So the length of the house, viewable, this is the view from Bartlett Hill Road, is about 80 feet. And the aspect of the roof faces south. And you can see from the fenestration patterns and the deep front porch overhang that very little of that light is admitted into the house. It creates a very dark interior. That's one of the drivers for this renovation. And a site plan. The main aspects are there's a first floor renovation and addition, which is going to include a screen porch with an expanded kitchen in the rear. And we're going to enclose the front porch for an expanded living room in the front. And the proposal also includes relocating the garage entry from the front of the house to the side to improve the architectural character of the house and also to improve the functional use of the interior. So the existing paved driveway would be removed and replaced with landscaping. Now, the proposed driveway is not as designed. We're going to make it as small as possible. So the access, the new access from Bartlett Hill Road will be a lot more narrow and then a smaller driveway. This is just the concept sketch. Okay, so from at the roof level, across roof gable across the center of the house and flanking gable dormers will accommodate new bedrooms, a bathroom, and a family room. We intend to keep the existing basement and first floor level structure, and we'll add on to the existing roof structure will need to be rebuilt due to clearances needed for headroom and new structurally adequate framing. The existing framing is not sufficient. So this is a view when you come to the top of Bartlett Hill Road, and we're proposing a new main entry that's closer to the garage, and you can see the expanded living room below the central gable above. The garage doors will be now located on the side end of the house, which creates an opportunity for a trellis walkway to the main entry from the garage outside. And this trellis is going to hold a Concord grapevine that was grown from a cutting obtained from a neighbor. It was actually from original farmland to this area before Bartlett Hill Road all became houses. And then the last view we have here is as you're walking back down towards Monument, still at the top of the hill, obviously. The decision to build over the existing footprint of the house really results in 3 distinct roof volumes. And so we're trying to achieve overall symmetry, again, by the central cross roof gable and flanking gable roof dormers, which will let light in.
Mr. Rowan, if I may interject a little bit, it seems that you have a very competent design and that you have a number of architectural elements already in consideration. I think that these are exactly the materials that belong to a formal application to this commission. The purpose of a discussion is when there are matters that you would like to have clarified or explained in relation to a formal application. So I would ask you that if there are such issues, because I think that you have a fairly advanced design concept, and that this would be the material that you would submit if you are doing a formal application.
Okay. I see this still as preliminary, but one of the questions we have is about the flanking dormers. The owners were wondering if skylights would be appropriate. We're just not sure about that. And so the proposal of the roof dormers, it really is in the context of the Northbridge Monument Square Historic District. So we're looking for guidance there.
Okay. Any member of the commission wants to offer some guidance in relation to dormers and roof lights? Or any comments? Well,
Luis, is the
yes?
question whether we would like skylights rather than dormers?
Well, I think that Mr. Rowan comes with a question of that he wants to receive an opinion. You see, I don't think that we're in a position to express any opinion in any particular issue. I think that what he's presenting, it's from a naive standpoint, a fairly good design that similar to many ones that I have seen before, and that my recommendation is that he submit a full application, and in that process he may obtain feedback from the commissioners and ask the question that he has. But as long as he's here and he waited until 11:15 in the evening, then I'm offering other commissioners the opportunity to provide guidance.
Jason, I might offer one comment. I think it would be interesting to see both options, if it wouldn't be too much trouble to ask to. I mean, I think dormers or skylights could work. I'd like to sort of see what you would propose. Would it be a huge skylight or a couple of small ones or square? So I think if you could choose a scenario and then present it, we could make we pine on it, as it were.
Okay, that's fine. So
does that make sense? In other words, we wouldn't say yes or no right now. It would just be a sort of, well, I think either could work.
Okay. That sounds fine.
That makes sense.
And if I could interject, Luis, I think the point of people coming with a preliminary design and an informal discussion prior to submitting an application is to present their idea, to get any feedback if there's any glaring issues from the HDC members that can be pointed out before they submit an application. So that's
I entirely agree. The only issue that I see is that this is a very good design so far as I can see. So I find it difficult to offer any input or feedback because this is actually quite good.
Well, I think, Luis, that kind of is of the feedback, is that what I would say to the applicant is that from my perspective, there's nothing in this design, particularly given the location of this house, that would cause us to have, you know, significant and serious concerns that at this point, I would say you really need to reconsider X, Y, or Z. I would say this is the type of application that if you came before us, there may be some fine tuning, but overall impression is that this would be something that we could find appropriate with maybe some minor tweaks.
Well said.
Okay, great.
Is that helpful?
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mr. Rowan, for coming in and for being so patient with us.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
See you soon.
See you soon. Hopefully, the
Yes,
last
we will.
issue, it's the minutes from 12:2 and 1:6. I saw the minutes, and 12:2 I didn't comment because I wasn't there. The 1:6 seems to look good to me. I'd ask our secretary, Abigail.
Yes, I reviewed the minutes. I had minor edit to January 6th, which I submitted to Heather. But other than that, they looked fine to me.
Okay,
I
so
would
I
move
would
that
ask for
we-
a motion to approve the
I-
minutes from
I would-
1:6 and
I
12:2.
was just about to do that. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just moved that we accept the minutes from 12:2 and 1:6, 12:2:21 and 1:6:22 into the record as amended by our secretary.
A second.
Right.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Henry, did you abstain?
No, I said
wasn't
yes.
there.
Okay.
I
Well,
found them helpful.
well, if there are no other matters to be discussed, I ask that we make a motion to dismiss this meeting.
So moved. I move we adjourn.
We adjourn.
Second.
Seconds. Aye, etc.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
And thank you to the public, and thank you to Linda for being
Thanks,
here.
Luis. Well
Thanks for
run.
hanging in there.
Thank you,
soon.
Linda, for being so patient. We don't have any small talk with you.
Thank you all.
All right. Good night now.
You have stamina, that's for sure.
and some other things that we haven't shown you.
Henry, thank you for joining us. We
Henry.
usually don't go this late.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night to you all.
See
Thank you so
again.
much.
Night all. All right.
Bye-bye.